A very, very warm welcome to all of you to today's class. I'm Sri Ridma Bhatia and we are discussing the chapter 15, Deduction, Collection and Recovery of Tax. In the last class, we did few sections. I'll quickly just give you a gist of what sections were covered. And today we'll be continuing the tedious sections. I think we have to buck up our speed today, but the provisions coming ahead are quite interesting, to be honest, and are quite useful. So you'll see. So quickly in the previous class, we studied about the ecosystem of how the TDS works, basically why government introduced these mechanisms to have a recovery of taxes timely in the previous year itself, right? And plus they also get the information, because once a person files the return, they also get the information on what types of incomes are getting generated in the economy, who is getting that income, so that they can ultimately verify from the returns, right? So in the previous class, we did first, we understood about if the deductor does not deduct the tax, does not mean that you as a deductee or as a payee or as an assessee does not have a liability to pay tax on it. So if first we did I'll just write the sections quickly. Section 192, which is TDS on the payment of salary, where the employer will deduct the TDS for the salary income to the employee, but employee can, if he wishes, to give the other incomes information and deductions of information. Loss only, loss from house property would be considered. Average rate here would be the average slab rate. TDS would be deducted at the time of payment. Then we did 192A, which is, we have to repeat it with me, okay? Which is your TDS on the payment of premature withdrawal of EPF. Here also, if the EPF is taxable, the accumulated balance of the provident fund is taxable, then only this section gets triggered. Here, the trust, who is the fund, who is paying you as an employee, the premature withdrawal or the taxable withdrawal will deduct the TDS at the rate of 10%. Here, TDS would be deducted if the withdrawal is 50,000 or more at the time of payment. Then we did section 193, interest on securities, where any resident person is receiving any interest on security, any person would deduct the TDS at the rate of 10%. As such, there is no TDS limit, but yes, for individual and HUF, when they are receiving from public company any interest, there is a limit of up to 5,000, and then on taxable saving bonds, there is a limit of 10,000. 194, dividend. Dividend again at the rate of 10%. You have to remember, and I hope you have prepared such charts, okay? When a dividend is paid to any resident person, as such, again, no limit. Here also, TDS is deducted at the time of payment. Domestic company, if paying it to individual, will not deduct the TDS if it is up to 5,000 and is paid in any mode other than cash. Also, there are other exceptions like payment to LIC, GIC. Dividend payments to LIC, GIC will not be covered. 194A, interest other than interest on securities. Here also, the general limit is 5,000, but when we talk about interest given from bank, cooperative banks, and post office, the interest limit increases to 40,000 for time deposits and 50,000 in case of senior citizen. Here also the rate again is 10%. 194B and BB, winnings from crossword puzzles, lotteries, etc., horse races, BB. Here again, the rate is 30% when the winning crosses 10,000. Here also NR covered. So up till now, here NR covered. Non-residents are covered here. Non-residents are covered here. Winnings in kind may. You just have to ensure that before releasing the winnings, the tax has been deposited. 194C, very important, which we did. Payments on contracts and subcontracts, individual and HUF. If the contractor is individual HUF, the rate is 1%. Other than individual HUF, the rate is 2%. Here, resident individual HUF or resident other than individual HUF are covered. Sorry. The limit is 30,000 for single invoice or 1 lakh in aggregate during the financial year. With other conditions, here we did cover a lot of case laws for advertising, for broadcasting, production of challenge, carriage of goods, catering, especially manufacturing or supplying an article as per the specifications. So please do revise this section. This section is very important. Then we did 194D, G and H together. All are commission, but D is for insurance commission, G is for lottery commission, H is for general brokerage and commission. The rates are 5%. The limit is 15,000 in all of the cases. And then we did 194DA. which is your life insurance policy maturity. If it is not exempt under section 1010D, it would be taxable here. It would be taxable, number one, and the TDS would be deductible under section 194DA. The TDS would be deductible, यहाँ पे बहुत interesting है, only if the maturity proceeds crosses 1 lakh, but the TDS would be deductible at the rate of 5% of the income amount. Okay. Any doubt up till now? I hope those who have joined in can quickly revise it. Perfect. So let's now begin with the section today, which is 194E. Now, यहाँ पे the payments made to any non-resident sportsman, sports association under section 194E, non-resident sports association and non-resident sports person. So the moment a non-resident gets covered, the TDS rates would be increased by surcharge and cess any. So just remember that it is applicable in all circumstances. So first of all, वही अपने 5 questions which we look to answer. Who is the deductor here? Any person. Deductor here is again any person. Who is the deductee? Who would be the deductees or the payee? I use both the term interchangeably so that you can relate to कि कहीं पे अगर payee लिखा आ गया, so you don't get confused, or deductee लिखा आ गया, so you don't get confused. Here 3 categories of person are non-resident sportsman, as you can see on the screen, non-resident entertainer, and non-resident sports association. And the condition here is the sportsman and the entertainer should not be a citizen of India also, as being together with the non-resident. They should not be a citizen of India. So if some person who was born in India gets settled abroad and now is a non-resident, he would not be covered here. So he should not be a citizen of India. Then only 194E would be attracted. So first, what types of payment? Any payments made to non-resident sportsmen, non-resident entertainer, non-resident sports association. We'll discuss about the payment. The rate here is 20%. 20% plus cess plus surcharge. 20% plus cess plus surcharge. Now, first of all, the question will come. Now, sports person, yes. Entertainer, yes. Non-resident, yes. Best example to quote here is IPL. IPL mein you see sports or athletes, or I should say cricketers from all across the world participate. So if they are participating in India and they are playing the match in India, so the point here is they should be performing here in India, then any payment made to them would be tax deductible under section 194E. So if IPL happens here, they will get the payment and it would be deductible under 194E. If IPL happens outside India, which happened quite a few times, then the payment would not attract 194E because they performed outside India. Not only for IPL, you have seen many a time sportsmen come and they advertise. They come in advertisements because Dream 11, all these advertisements are in full swing at that time. So even if they're coming in any advertisement, then also whatever the payment is made to them, it would be covered under this particular section 194E. Along with that, we see they are coming in many newspapers, magazine genres, they are appearing, they are giving interviews, or they're all over the place during that time. So at that time also, whatever payment is made to them, that would be covered under 194E. Now, यहाँ पे ध्यान रखना, suppose Brett Lee came in India, okay, he played IPL, but at the same time KBC was going on, and he participated in KBC, and वहाँ पे he won a certain amount. He won a certain amount, so that amount is casual winning. That amount is casual winning from games, puzzles, etc. That would not be taxable here. That would be taxable under 194B. Okay, so that would be tax deductible under 194B. Here, the tax deductible is 194E, which is for participation in any game sports in India, advertisement, and contribution of articles relating to any game or sport in India, newspaper, magazine, journals. Uske alawa, yes, there can be different types of payments made to them, but that would attract different sections. That would not attract this section. This type of payment, this type of category. Non-resident sportsman hai, including athlete, that means other people like umpires, commentators, referees, and these all would coaches would not be covered here. Would not be covered here. So umpires, commentators, you can write this as a point. Umpires, commentators, referees, etc. would not be covered here. Then, what do you mean by non-resident entertainer? Who is a non-resident entertainer? So non-resident entertainer can be any person. He can be an artist, he can be a singer, he can be even a cheerleader. So if suppose Shakira comes and perform here, or if suppose Jennifer Lopez comes and perform here, whatever payment the event management is giving to them, they would deduct tax under 194E. So entertainer can be anyone who is performing in India. Then there is sports association. So if you are paying it to any I've written non-resident sports association, any outside India, so काफी सारे sports association को payments goes, that is tax deductible under 194E. Is it clear? Very simple section. Just remember here 20% plus cess plus surcharge because the payments have been made from non-resident. So surcharge would be applicable only if the payment is more than 50 lakhs on 1 crore. Okay. And now, if you want 194 EE, you can do commission. We have covered brokerage and all this has been covered. Now we'll quickly jump to another very important section, which is 194 I. It's actually one of my favorite section. Very simple and very interesting to relate to. So 194I relates to payment in the nature of rent. So payment, if the payment is in the nature of rent and it has that criteria which we discussed, then TDS would be deducted under section 194I. Again, the same question, who would be the payer or who would be the deductor? Again, payer can be any person except individual and HUF, which we have discussed. Who are small taxpayers? Yes, exactly. Individual and HUF who in the previous or the preceding previous year or in the preceding financial year does not have a business turnover of more than 1 crore or in case of profession, gross receipts more than 50 lakhs. They would not be covered here. I give a reference to what we discussed in 194A. वहां से ही reference चल रहा है. C में is not there, H में they are not there, and I may also, those individual and HUF are not there. So you will relate these are very common payments. That's why these small taxpayers have been excluded because TDS brings lots of compliances with them. Okay, so any person except individual and HUF, then payee again is any resident person. Sorry. Payee again any resident person. Now, यहाँ पे कहीं पे भी it's not written rent of immovable property. Rent can be for any type of asset, right? It can be for immovable property, it can be for furniture, it can be for plant and machinery, anything. So the rates are divided based on the asset for which that rental payment is. So if the rental payment is for building, land, furniture, the rate would be 10%. If the rate is, it is for plant and machinery or any equipment, the rate is for 20%. So furniture is covered under 10 and plant and machinery is under, 2%. Plant and machinery is under different category of 2%. Now, यहाँ पे suppose if I take a building on rent which has, or a factory on rent which has plant and machinery equipped in it. So whatever is going on plant and machinery, I'll pay it for plant and machinery. Or I'll deduct 2%, whatever I'm paying for building or for that factory, I'll deduct the TDS at the rate of 10%. Clear? Any doubt? Time of deduction here remains the same. Credit or due, whichever is earlier. Credit or due, whichever is earlier. Threshold limit. Threshold limit is very important. This was recently revised. So if the payment of rent during the year does not exceed 2,40,000, then no TDS. If it exceeds 2,40,000, then the TDS has to be deducted at the rate of 10% or 2% depending upon the asset. Now, यहाँ पे 240, as I discussed, we got some examples in mind. Suppose again that factory wala, if I have taken, I'm Mr. A, I've taken a factory on rent and I'm paying total rent of 4,80,000 to Mr. B. Okay, out of which 3,60,000 is for the factory and 120 is for the plant and machinery, which is intact in that factory. Okay, now what should be the rate I should apply? Number one, which is pretty clear. Number two, whether should I deduct the tax, because the limit is 240, whether should I deduct the tax or not? Think. Whether the tax should be deducted or not? The answer is yes, because यहाँ पे they have not written कहीं पे भी the rent of plant and machinery should not or rent of building. If they say the payment of rent to another person, to a payee, if exceeds 2,40,000, irrespective of whatever the composition is, you have to deduct the TDS. You have to deduct the TDS. So is pay 10% and is pay 2%. Clear? Now let's take another case. Mr. A makes payments of, again, of 480, not 480. Let's take Mr. A make payment of 3 lakh, okay, during the year for rent to Mr. B and Mrs. B. They are the co-owner. So 150 goes in the account of Mr. B and 150 goes in the account of Mrs. B. So whether TDS should be deducted now, think Mr. A is making a payment for building to Mr. B and Mrs. B equally as they are the co-owner, whether TDS would be deducted here. Correct, Koshki. The TDS would not be deducted. Why? Why so? Because the limit, always the payments which we are discussing up till now, the limit is always that for the payment nature per pay. So Mr. B के पैन पे वो 240 से ज्यादा नहीं है, Mrs. B के पैन पे भी वो 240 से ज्यादा नहीं है. Even if the rent exceeds 3 lakh, but to a single pay, it's not crossing 240, I will not deduct the TDS if I'm Mr. A. So these two things may be very, very careful when to deduct the TDS and when not to deduct the TDS. Okay. इसके अलावा there are a lot of case studies or case laws which should be discussed. One is, first we have discussed this similar when we were discussing about 194C. If I am making payment for warehouse or for a godown, then it would attract 194I. But if I am making payment for a cold storage facility or cold storage, where there is obviously a space which is given to me, but along with that, there's a contractual nature between me and another person to provide that cold storage facility, that would attract 194C. That would attract 194C. Then next is your PSF, passenger service fee. So what happens? Let's take an example. Delhi mein, so one is airport authorities, that is different. Another is every airport has an operator who maintains that airport. Okay. So airport operator. So Delhi may suppose airport operator is GMR. So by the law, airlines have to give a passenger service fee to the airport operator wherever they operate. So if Air India planes operate in Delhi airport. So Delhi airport operators they have to pay a certain fee, which is passenger service fee. This is a fee which is charged from us only as a passenger. A percentage is charged from us, and then it is paid to the airport operator. Then it is paid to the airport operator. What is this fee basically for? Because they maintain an airport in such a way, so that it is accessible to the passengers and to the airline. And it is, they maintain it, they provide services, there are security check services, there are check-in portals, everything is there, right? So for that, they pay the fee. So we will not pay them directly. Airline charge from us and then they pay to the airport operator. So will that be deductible under 194I? The answer is no. That passenger service fee will not be deductible under 194I. Uske alawa, you can read this parking charges wala. It is also a very interesting case. Next is there was a clarification when service tax was there. In fact, in general also, you do not deduct TDS on the GST component of the bill. So if a bill is coming for the services plus GST is also there, you do not deduct the tax on the GST component, you deduct the tax only on the service component. Even if the total bill is suppose 1,18,000, you will deduct the TDS on 1 lakh. This is an assumed case we apply for many payments. For rent, there was a clarification that service tax component pe TDS nahi lagega, and same that same clarification is picked for the GST purposes also. Along with that, there is one more case which I want to discuss. Yeah. So the case goes like, not case, there's a clarification. In fact, long-term leases. Long-term leases जो होते हैं 99 years की 100 plus 100 across year की, वहां पे ना एक upfront lease premium दिया जाता है और what do you say, upfront lease charges pay करे जाते हैं for acquisition of that long-term lease right. So I'm not talking about the lease rentals that are tax deductible. I'm talking about this lease premium which you pay upfront for getting those leasehold rights. So whether these lease premium which you pay would attract TDS deduction under 194I, the CBDT clarified that it would not attract TDS deduction under 194I. Another, this results with a very common thing, which is refundable security deposit. So if you are anyone who has ever taken a house on rent, you pay security deposit to them. You pay a security deposit to them, which is refundable at the time you leave that property or at the time you leave that asset. Okay. So, and that is a huge amount. The security deposit is a huge amount. The question comes whether you will deduct tax on refundable security deposit. The answer is no. Why? Because you will get it back. You will get it back. If it's a non-refundable security deposit, then you have to deduct the tax. Achha, one more thing, I know if it is there or not, but obviously the question might come in your mind that ma'am, rent means use of property or use of land or use of any particular asset. You get a right to enjoy that asset, right? So ma'am, whether when we go to hotels, we are given a particular room to enjoy, we are given the right to that room. So whether in hotel 194I would be covered or not? Did you ever think of this? Think, because you are getting a right to use the property. The answer is no. Wahan pe we do not deduct 194I. But yes, if there is a contract with the, suppose, because I am a company, I know during this period of time, my top management comes and they want to stay in this hotel, in this particular room, because they are very specific about the view they will get. And they want to be blocked for such date to such date. So if that type of agreement is between the company and the hotel, then company will deduct 194I, where they are embarking the rooms with specified rate and specified period, then 194I would be covered, because for for that period, the hotel cannot give those room to any other person, then 194I would be covered. Okay, clear? So that's all about 194I. I think 194I is pretty relatable and pretty easy. Anyone has any doubt before we proceed to next section? See, Viraj, TDS rates are always flat rates. Surcharge and cess only would be added on these rates if the payments which are made to non-resident, one scenario, or if we talk about 192, which is salary, wahan pe, to get the average slab rate or average tax rate, you deduct, you include surcharge and cess. Okay. Correct. Now we move to next section, which is your 194IA. Now this section actually, this section came around 10 years back, and this section somewhat changed the understanding of TDS for many people. I'll tell you what this section is, just one second. So before you understand this particular section, section 194I, which covers payment on transfer of certain immovable property other than agricultural land. Now, first of all, I have been telling you that TDS is one way for the government to know the transactions which are happening in the economy, the income which is getting generated, so that they can verify that whosoever is earning the income, whether they are paying the tax or whether they are filing the return or not. Correct? So, and TDS is quite a compliance related procedure, and at one moment they have, for very common payments, they have removed individuals and HUF who do not have that certain types of turnover or certain amount of turnover in the preceding financial year. Correct. Now, with introduction of section 194IA, which is payment or transfer of certain immovable property other than agricultural land, they changed few of the compliances for a deductor. Remember in the first class I told you, a deductor has to obtain TAN number, which is tax deduction and collection account number. Then he has to deduct the tax as per whatever the section says. Then he has to deposit it. Then he has to file the return. Then he has to issue the certificate. And that exercise extends to a quarter almost. Right? And always if intimation comes, he has to reply to them. So that process wholesome is very cumbersome. So there are 3 to 4 sections in income tax where you can deduct TDS without obtaining TAN and without going through quarterly cycle of completing the compliances, without obtaining TAN. So there are not all the sections. Without obtaining TAN, you can deduct the TDS. That means just if you have a PAN number, you can deduct the TDS, and in one form, just by filing one form, which is a challan cum return form, you can give the information to the department, deposit the tax, and get yourself free. And then after 15 days, you can just give a certificate. That's it. So the compliance reduces to just one transaction and one time of step which you have to follow, and that's it. So there are certain 4 types of payment where exception to TAN applies. One such is 194IA. 194 other than rural agricultural land. Okay, so then only whichever is higher. Now, यहाँ पे वो 10% safe harbor limit is not there. In 50C, you compare 10% to take the income. In 43CA, you compare 10%. यहाँ पे you don't have to compare. SDV, actual consideration, whichever is higher, 1% you have to deduct the TDS. Ma'am, time of deduction, again, credit or payment, whichever is earlier. So, ma'am, every sale purchase of immovable property will attract TDS? No. Only when the consideration or the SDV. Only when the consideration or the SDV is 50 lakhs or more. Now, here I am referring to Purana wala. Just one second. Yeah. So SDV और द कंसिडरेशन दोनों में से कोई भी 50 लाख से ज्यादा हुआ, then you have to deduct the tax. It's 50 lakhs or more, so that means 50 lakhs पे भी TDS deduct होगा. If SDV is 50 lakhs, then also TDS will be deductible, even if actual consideration is less than 50 lakhs. If actual consideration is more than 50 lakhs, but SDV is less than 50 lakhs, then also TDS would be deductible. For example, I purchased a property of 49 lakhs stamp duty value. Actual consideration is 51 lakhs. Will I deduct the TDS? Think. Come on quickly. Yes, TDS would be deductible at what rate? 51 lakh का 1%. दोनों में से कुछ भी higher हुआ students, TDS would be deductible irrespective of the fact कि actual consideration कम है या stamp duty value कम है, does not matter. दोनों में से one process 50 lakh, one touches 50 lakh, not even process, one touches 50 lakhs, TDS would be deductible. Okay, Viraj? Now यहाँ पे just remember, जैसे rent में एक example I quoted to you, I'll quote another example here. Yeah. So यहाँ पे I purchased a house. Mr. A purchased a house जिसका actual consideration था 60 lakhs. Okay. But there were two co-owners, Mr. B and Mrs. B. Both were equal co-owners. Mr. B got 30 lakhs as consideration, Mrs. B got 30 lakhs as a consideration. Now the question comes whether the TDS has to be deductible in this scenario under 194 IA or not. The TDS has to be deductible under 194 IA because here the criteria is not that a payment to a payee or a payment to a person should not exceed. Here the criteria is simple, that if the actual consideration of stamp duty value, whichever is 50 lakhs or more, the TDS would be deductible. Okay. So just remember, in case of co-owners, यहाँ पे वो situation नहीं आएगा. And try to relate your now part with 50C because 50C or 43CA are actually in the hands of recipient. उसका implication recipient को देखना है. But for the TDS, who has to the TDS implications has to be seen by the buyer. The TDS implication has to be seen by the buyer. So यहाँ पे difference please रखना. So if the seller is already into the business of sale purchase, of properties, then whatever he will sell would be his PGBP income, and you have to see the applicability of 43C. But for the buyer, he has to just see 194 IA and see the comparison of stamp duty value or actual consideration. Here the comparison goes like stamp duty or value of actual consideration, whichever is higher, provided the stamp duty value is higher than 10% of actual consideration. यहाँ पे वो safe harbor limit है. But यहाँ पे that limit is not applicable. On the contrary, if the seller is a person who has just sold his general property which he had as an investment, then यहाँ पे seller के लिए 50C would be applicable and buyer के लिए same conditions applicable. Buyer के लिए nothing changes, but you have to see the land here which we are talking about is any immovable property other than rural agricultural land. Okay, and actual consideration में everything comes, the cost of parking charges, the cost of maintenances. अगर कुछ agreement to sell में it is written as mentioned, then everything would be covered here. But I'm telling you, this section is very important because the change has come from this year for stamp duty value. Clear? Shall we proceed? Any doubt? Perfect. Okay, interesting here. I hope it is. If there is co-bias cost की, then also co-bias के case में वो per consideration same 50 lakhs cross हुआ तो काटना पड़ेगा TDS. Next we come to 194 IB. 194 IB अब आप as you will see and you will say payment of rent by certain individuals and you say मैम अभी 10 minutes पहले तो आपने payment of rent समझाया. Payment of rent वहां पे क्या था 194 I में? The buyer, sorry, not the buyer, the deductor can be any person other than individual HUL who do not have that turnover of more than 1 crore in case of business or processes of more than 50 lakhs in case of profession in the preceding financial year, right? That means this section, which is covering the payment of rent, which is covering the payment of rent of immovable property, would cover those buyers and those individuals, not the buyers, those individuals or those HUFs who are not covered in 194I. और 194I में कौन से covered नहीं है? Individuals and HUF who in the preceding year had a turnover less than 1 crore or gross receipts less than 50 lakhs. So that means वो यहाँ पे cover हो जाएंगे 194IB में, 194IB में. And secondly, individual or HUF जिनका business था ही नहीं, so like salaried class, not in HUF, it's like salaried class, right? Because if you're a salaried class, you're out of the scope of 194C, H, I, and you see J also be, right? In fact, A also. So you're out of the scope of it. So 194 IB में who individuals and HF would be covered? A, जिनका business था ही नहीं, salaried individuals है, other income individual है. B, जिनका business था, but in the previous year the turnover was less than 1 crore or losses equal less than 50 lakhs as the case of business or profession. Clear? Next, now you will say कि मैम आप already कह रहे हो ना, because individuals and HUFs are excluded because the compliances are very high when it comes to TDS. Exactly. That's why in this case also, just like 194IA, 194IB is also a section where you do not require a TAN to deduct TDS. And similarly, just like that, we'll discuss what are the forms. एक सिंपल फॉर्म भर के टैक्स डिपॉजिट हो जाएगा, इंफॉर्मेशन गवर्नमेंट के पास चला जाएगा and everything would be done. Just like 194IA, here also one simple form, return cum challan form, whereby you can fill in the tax details and other transaction details and deposit the tax and government would have all the information. Clear? So यहाँ पे what is the implication? First of all, the buyer, not the buyer, the deductor is clear. Clear. Who would be the deductee or the payee? Any resident person. Your rate is 5%. And here threshold is that this section would only be applicable if the rent per month, if the rent per month is 50,000, more than 50,000. This section would only be applicable if the rent per month is more than 50,000. Now, can you see why this section was introduced? The idea of introducing the section 194 IB was exactly this, that there was a large category of individuals who were paying huge rentals. Huge rentals. A salaried class person who is earning in lakhs and lakhs, he can maybe easily afford a 50,000 plus rent, but the transaction was not covering under the ambit of the government. Why? Because they were not included in 194 Act. So that's why transactions where you are paying rent at such a huge value per month. This is per month rent. The government wanted that TDS on such transactions should come to the government and the information of such transactions should be disclosed to the government. So that's why 194 IB got introduced. So 50,000 per month से ज़्यादा rent है, per month or part of the month से ज़्यादा rent है, then TDS has to be deducted. Now you will say कि ma'am rent goes every month. Up you are saying कि compliances does not have to done. So when have TDS has to be deducted? Now that is extremely interesting here. TDS काटना one time है, only one time deduction for the entire year rent, for the entire year rent, and that would happen in the last month rent, whichever if due or paid, whichever is earlier. So last month rent paid or due, whichever is earlier. So simple, if I am staying in a property, rented property, jiska I pay 60,000 rupees rent. Mr. B ka property hai, 60,000 per month rent hai. Okay, I know I'm paying it from the month of April. So when will I deduct TDS? March ka rent, if paying earlier or due earlier, whichever is earlier, us due ke time I will deduct the TDS for the entire year of 36,000, and net of the TDS I will make the payment of 24,000. ठीक है, 5% is the rate. Simple, कुछ नहीं करना, rent पूरे साल का and 5% करना है, and that would be deductible at the last month का rent of the financial year. Now you will say कि ma'am everyone does not stay in March. Yes, the government also know everyone does not stay in March. So whatever is the last month of tenancy, suppose I'm staying in a property till October. So October तक का कितना rent हुआ? 60,000 into 7, 420. इसका 5% I will deduct as TDS in the last month of tenancy, which is 21,000, and net payment I will make. ठीक है, and ये TDS deduct करके deposit करके next month की 30 days तक मुझे return file करना होता है. Timelines all would be discussed, do not worry. Clear? पक्का से last month of tenancy or last month of the year if you're staying for the entire year. अब यहाँ पे there is one critical criteria which comes. एक ना we'll see section 206AA which says कि PAN is very mandatory to be quoted by the buyer or by the deductee or by the payee, so that the deductor knows कि उनको किस PAN पे TDS basically किस PAN पे TDS को align करना है, payment को align करना, right? And government gets the information. But many times buyers are admin, they don't change, or the deductors are admin, the payees are admin, deductees are admins, the payees are admin, and they don't give the PAN number. So that gives the right to the deductor to deduct tax at a higher rate. As we saw in the case of 192A, if the PAN is not there, the tax was deducted at MMR. This 206AA operates, this says the tax would be deducted at the rate of 20% or the section, whichever is higher. अगर PAN नहीं देता buyer, then the tax will be deducted at 20% or the section rate, whichever is higher. So obviously 20% is higher. So 20% pay, I'll deduct the TDS. Now let's come to this scenario. अब अगर मुझे लास्ट मंथ का टीडीएस काटना है, मैं लास्ट मंथ के टीडीएस काटने के लिए आई वेंट टू मिस्टर बी एंड आई आस्क्ड कि गिव मी योर पैन नंबर, आई हैव टू डिडक्ट द टीडीएस एंड फॉलो माय रिस्पांसिबिलिटी. ही सेज आई एम नॉट गिविंग यू द पैन, but I have to deduct the TDS. So I have the right to deduct the TDS at what rate? 20%. Number one. Number two. अब problem क्या है? That when I go and when I go and see the TDS amount, would 7,20,000 का 20% comes as 1,44,000. अब ये तो प्रॉब्लम हो गया, बिकॉज लास्ट मंथ का मार्च के महीने का रेंट इज हार्डली 60,000. उससे पहले तो आई कैन नॉट से कि कम गिव मी द मनी वापस. ही द पर्सन इज नॉट गिविंग पैन, विल यू गिव मी द मनी? No. So the government says in that case where you have to deduct the TDS at the higher rate because the PAN was not given, then the maximum amount of TDS could be equal to the last month rent. Because obviously 20% jate hi, I don't have that much amount and I will not pay it from my pocket, right? So that's why here in this case, I will deduct the maximum TDS of 60,000. Clear? This part clear? अब यहाँ इस पे particularly 194 IV पे generally this 20% वाला question comes, so which now you know how you can write it, right? इस पे भी एक बार quickly go through and tell me if there's any doubt. Okay. Now we come to 194 IC. This is a very, very general section. यहाँ पे you know about joint development agreement, which you studied under section 45(5)(a). उसमें builder takes your property, gives you some build up floor and some consideration in cash. So जो cash consideration है, उस पे TDS is deductible by the builder. Who's making you the payment? Builder. So who would be the deductor? The builder. The builder would be the deductor. Who would be the deductee? You, who is a resident person who is receiving any consideration. क्योंकि immovable property के case में तो he cannot deduct something. So any consideration over and above that property which is being constructed and given to you, उसके अलावा anything in cash or basically in your bank account if you are getting that consideration pay, they will deduct the TDS at the rate of 10%. At the rate of 10%. Here, as such, no limit is defined, but the TDS has to be deducted at the time of credit or due, whichever is earlier. Okay? Clear? Now, everyone focus. This is another very interesting section. Fees for professional or technical services, section 194J. अब यहाँ पे लिखा तो fees for professional and technical services है. We are coming to next section, guys. Please, everyone on the screen. But यहाँ पे the types of payments which are covered are बहुत सारी. So 194J में first of all professional services payment. Any payment made for professional services would be covered. Then technical services. तो मैम वो तो लिखा ही हुआ, obviously you're right. Then here royalty is also covered. Then non-compete fees. And then your remuneration fees to director. So basically 5 categories of payments are here: professional services, technical services ka payment, royalty, non-compete fees, fees to directors. First of all, let's understand these payments and then we'll come to the rates, threshold limits, time of deductions, deductor, deductee, everything. What are professional services? Which you give, which are given by a profession, right? A professional services में notified professional services कुछ पढ़ा याद आ रहा है? Section 44AA, where you have the professions of legal, medical, engineer, architect, accountant, technical consultancy, interior decorator, then your sports activities के बहुत सारे, right? CS जो वहाँ पे notified भी हैं, everyone 44A में. IT professionals, all of them which are there under 44A and notified for 44A. एक तो वो plus 194J also covers, yeah, 194J may also covers other professionals which are related to sports activities like sports person, umpires, referees, coach, trainers, physicians, event managers, commentators, anchors, and sports columnist. So first of all, professional services को understand करने के लिए, the profession is actually very wide, but the list is defined. Only these types of professional payments would cover. Again, I'll say those what you have studied in 44AA, which is mentioned, plus what are notified under 44AA, film artists, authorized representatives, company secretary, information technology, plus the sports activities wala profession, which is notified under 194J. सिर्फ ये ही कवर होंगे आपका 194J में. So if I'm paying anything to doctor, any to my accountant, to my company chartered accountant, to my company secretary, would be covered under 194J because they are professional providing the services. Clear? Any doubt? Yes. Now what are technical services? Now technical services, now this term is so wide, but actually if we go by the definition which is given, technical services include services which is of managerial nature, टेक्निकल नेचर एंड कंसल्टेंसी नेचर, तीनों आते हैं. ठीक है, टेक्निकल में सर्विसेज प्लस प्रोविजन ऑफ सर्विसेज ऑफ टेक्निकल और अदर पर्सोनल, everything covers it. अब मैनेजरियल टेक्निकल कंसल्टेंसी, what are these services? मैनेजरियल सर्विसेज जो मैनेजमेंट लेवल पे they are providing you some consultation, some strategy management, consultancy provide कर रहे हैं, advising कर रहे हैं whether to do the project or not do the project. All those are your technical services. So technical services may, if you sit and study and you want to go in deep into these, there are many case laws covering that definition of technical services. And then obviously, what are the fees are royalty. You know what is royalty? When you pay someone for the right they've given you in that asset, patent, knowledge, whatever information, authors, royalty given to authors, royalty given to singers, music albums, copyright, every types of royalties are covered here. What is non-compete fees? Non-compete fees is what you pay for someone to cut your competition. Like if I've opened a shop here in Hyderabad and I don't want someone else to work in that same area for that same business, so I give a non-compete fees. Then fees to directors. Fees to directors का sitting fees, board meeting fees, all of that. This sub type of payment would be covered under 194J. Is that clear? Number one, first you have to understand what types of services are, what types of payments are covered. Now, a technical services, a plumber comes who does a general maintenance, or a AC wala guy comes who does a general maintenance of my AC, are not technical. वो 194C में आते हैं, जो हल्का सा spares लेके आते हैं and do it. That is 194C. But yeah, if they are coming and providing some technical assistance, like they are with the interior decorator and placing it all and all that stuff, so that comes under 194J. So ultimately, you have to focus on the type of services which are provided. Technical work उसमें है या नहीं, जनरल स्किल है, कॉमन स्किल्स है प्लम्बर का, बट उसमें कुछ टेक्निकल नॉलेज, एप्लीकेशन स्पेसिफिकली फॉर माय सर्विसेज आर देयर, दैट इज कॉल्ड टेक्निकल सर्विसेज. अब इसमें बहुत सारे केस लॉज हैं, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. प्लीज ओपन योर माइंड एंड लेट्स स्टार्ट इट. ओके, first of all, who is the payer? One second. So who would be the payer? Payer here would also be any person, but except, again, this is since a very common type of payment, except individuals and HUF who do not have that turnover. Not all individuals and HUF who 194A wala, who do not have the turnover of more than 1 crore in the preceding financial year in case of business, or more than gross receipts or more than 50 lakhs in case of profession in the preceding financial year. Okay, then payee can be any resident person. So again, here resident person. Now let's come to the rate. Rate here is, general rate is 10%, but in case of technical services, the rate is 2%. In case of technical services, it is 2%. In case of royalty, which is given for any film, I will write cinematographic, the word is very heavy. Royalty for selling, distribution, exhibition of a cinematographic film, then 2%. And if the payment is made to any person who operates a call center, then 2%. Okay. Otherwise, it is 10%. So otherwise, it is 10%. So the general rate is 10%, but for technical services, for royalty in case of cinematographic film, selling, exhibition, distribution, etc., 2%. And if the payment is made to any call center, then 2%. So 3 exceptions. Now come to the threshold limit. Obviously, when the TDS has to be deducted at the time of credit or due, whichever is earlier. Credit or pay, whichever is earlier. What is the threshold limit? Threshold limit here is 30,000 either in a bill or in aggregate per category. That means for each type of payment, the threshold limit applies. Royalty 30K, non-compete 30K, but for director fees, there is no threshold limit. There is no threshold limit. So if I'm paying to Mr. J, who is the director of my company, the fees, so uspe, even if 1,000 rupees is paid, then also 10% would be deductible. But at the same time, he's also our advisor and we pay him technical fees. Then we'll deduct 2% only if technical fees is crossing 30,000. Is crossing 30,000, then only we will pay him, deduct 2%. And also at the same time, he's also a legal advisor in one of the things for which we pay him the professional fees. Then only if professional fees crosses 30,000, then we'll deduct TDS at 10%. So the limits have to be seen per type of payment, but for the director fees, there is no threshold limit. ये एक बारी please, if you want to take a note of, you can take a note of. I'll proceed उसके बाद. ठीक है? Perfect. Then individual HUF are not covered here, who in the preceding financial year does not have that requisite turnover. Clear? But at the same time, if individual and HUF, even if they have a requisite turnover, but they are making a payment in the nature of personal purpose. So the fees which I am paying is for personal purpose, then I will not deduct the TDS under 194J. Just like 194C, here also 194J may, I will not deduct the TDS. So for example, I have a family dispute going on for which I pay the lawyer or royalty fees can be the advocate, the fees for say 50,000. ठीक है, will I deduct the TDS? No, because it's a family dispute. But at the same time, if I am paying it to the lawyer for some company related matter, for filing a company related case, will I deduct the TDS? The answer is yes, if I'm an individual or HF having that requisite turnovers in the preceding financial year. Clear? But at the same time, individual or HF director fees तो pay करेगा ही नहीं, right? Non-compete fees पे भी they are not liable to deduct TDS and even on royalty. So only in case professional and technical services pay, individual and HF will pay. Individual and HF will pay the TDS if in the preceding financial year they have the requisite turnover and they are not in the personal nature. Rates clear, services cleared, everything cleared. Now we will move to case laws under this section. Okay, so now the first thing here is एक रॉयल्टी का देयर इज अ क्लैरिफिकेशन, बहुत सिंपल सा चीज है, ध्यान से सुनना. रॉयल्टी के केस में यू नो TDS हैज टू बी डिडक्टेबल एट द रेट ऑफ 10% until unless it's a cinematic film का selling, distribution और exhibition का रॉयल्टी देन 2%, right? बट रॉयल्टी के केस में देयर हैज बीन वन क्लैरिफिकेशन, यू नो सॉफ्टवेयर पे भी वट एवर यू पे टू एक्वायर दैट सॉफ्टवेयर वो भी रॉयल्टी आता है, 194J is attracted. बट यहाँ पे देयर इज दिस क्लैरिफिकेशन. So let's discuss about this. Mr. A, Mr. B, and Mr. C. Mr. B purchased a software from Mr. A. Okay. Mr. B purchased a software from Mr. A. Mr. B will make the payment. He will deduct the tax under 194J. Now, if Mr. B, without any modification, he's just acting as a middleman, that means gives or sells that software to Mr. C. Now, you will say Mr. C will also deduct the TDS under 194J because royalty hai 10% pay. The answer is yes, he should. But if Mr. B gives a declaration with his PAN that I have deducted the TDS on such software and deposited it, and there has been no modification in the software, then Mr. C does not have to deduct the TDS. He is free from deducting the TDS. So can I say when a person is acting as a middleman and that middleman has deducted the TDS on purchase of that software from the main person, then when he's reselling it, then when he's subsequently selling it or reselling it, then the customer does not have to deduct the TDS while making the payment of that royalty. Why? Because on that software already the TDS has been deducted by the middleman. This declaration has to be given by the middleman or by Mr. B in this case that the TDS has been deducted. Clear? ये केस क्लियर. ओके, देन नेक्स्ट केस एक है आपका नेक्स्ट क्लैरिफिकेशन जो CBDT से आया है, TPA. You know what is TPA? How many of you know what is TPA? Have you heard this term? Have you heard this term, TPA? Okay. So basically what happens is, I'll quickly explain you. आप insurance लेते हैं. You take the insurance, medical insurance. If a person takes a medical insurance, he takes it from an insurance company. So for example, I'll take it in my case, I have an insurance from National Insurance. Okay? This is a government company. National Insurance India Limited. No. Okay, so suppose Mr. X took insurance from national insurance. Now, if that person gets hospitalized, if Mr. X gets hospitalized, he can claim for his medical expenses. He can claim for the cashless reimbursement facility of his insurance, and he will submit his insurance copy to the hospital. The hospital will get all the approvals from the insurance company, and then they will proceed it. But insurance company, many times or nowadays, they have a third party administrator. What is a third party administrator? TPA, who actually, see, insurance company अपना खुद का काम संभाल लेगी या ये इतने सारे claims, whatever comes in daily basis, will they check it up and give the information, whatever hospital requires, all the records and all the stuff, whatever is the to and fro communication going between hospitals and insurance companies, will that they take care of it. So that's why to administer all that medical claims of their insured person, they have a TPA, a third party administrator, which in this case, suppose we have a party name with Safeway. Okay, so instead of sending it to the national insurance company, the hospital will send all the claims to the Safeway. Safeway will check the genuinity of claim. He will check whatever the history of the patient is and all that stuff, and will give an payment to the hospital. This all happens under cashless facility, cashless reimbursement facility. So whenever you take an insurance, always take this types of insurance, cashless insurance, so that you don't have to worry about the hospital expenditures. Okay, now a clarification has come from the CBDT. See, when Mr. X will pay directly to the hospital, even if it's a professional payment, but it's for personal nature, he will not deduct the TDS, correct? But if that payment is coming from third party administrator, the CBDT has clarified that third party administrator, in case of medical insurances, will deduct TDS when making the payment to hospital, and they will deduct the TDS under 194J. So I'll conclude again. When the third party administrator makes the payment to the hospital on behalf of the insurance, then they have to deduct the TDS under 194J. This has been a clarification. So if you would know how this works, it would have been easy, but I hope that whole system is clear, who gets the insurance, who clears the approval and all stuff. Okay? Clear, Kaushki Viraj? Okay. So TPA wala part is also clear. Another case law which is here, which you should remember, is the Kotak Securities. So एक बहुत famous case है Kotak Securities का, where Supreme Court So what happens is, Supreme Court का ये case है, simple सा case है, it's basically will help you understand the technical services का meaning. So what happened? Kotak Securities pays a fees. All the members of the stock exchange have to pay a fees to the stock exchange for a certain types of software. Okay. So that software is like a technical assistant to these securities and brokers. Okay. Now the question arose that whether these fees, which is paid to stock exchanges as a member for availing the facility of trading, is that fees a technical service? The answer is yes, it is technical, but will it attract 194J? That we have to see. So on which the Supreme Court said that for technical services वैसे to be complete to be fulfilled under 194G, there should be an element of specialization and catering to a certain degree of person or a certain category of individual or a certain category of recipient of the service, right? So there should be certain types of specialization and exclusive element of giving a service to that recipient. So here in this case, this transaction charges or these charges which are being taken from the stock exchange, which are taken by the stock exchange from the Kotak securities, are general in nature and any member has to pay it. Any member has to pay it. So these are not exclusive in nature to classify them as a sole technical services, right? So hence 194J would not be attracted. Hence 194J would not be attracted. Now you will ask him, how these case laws comes in exam. There would be just 1 or 2 liner question that so and so company has paid so and so charges to stock exchange and identify whether any TDS has to be deducted or TDS under 194J has to be deducted or not. Then in that case, you have to mention this case law and you have to mention the judgment of the apex court. Okay? Clear? Personal nature की services इसमें नहीं आएंगे. Now let's go आगे and do थोड़े से simple से questions, simple से sections, and then technical sections पे भी आएंगे. अभी तक I'll quickly revise what all sections has been done. So adding to the list here, let's see हमने अभी तक क्या-क्या करे so that you can revise quickly. We have done 194E. We started with 194E. Which is payment to non-resident sports person, non-resident sports association, non-resident entertainer. Entertainer and sports person should not be a citizen of India. Also, the TDS rate is 20% plus cess plus surcharge, if applicable. Plus surcharge plus cess hona chahiye though. Then we did 194I, TDS on rent, which is at the rate of 10% in case of land, building, furniture, and at the rate of 2% in case of plant and machinery. Here also resident person only is included. यहाँ पे non-resident. Then we here also यहाँ पे individual HF are not covered. Previous year वाला यहाँ पे individual HF are not covered. 194H में individual HF are not covered. 194I में also individual HF preceding year वाला are not covered. Okay. 194I TDS on rent. Then we did 194IA rent on transaction or sale purchase of movable property. Then we did 194IB rent other than that of 194I, जिसमें individual and HF who are not covered under 194I will deduct the TDS if the rent rate more than 50,000 per month. Then we did 194IC. One second. Yeah. Which covers your joint development agreement वाला. And then we did 194J. 194J में बहुत सारी types of payments है. Technical, professional, non-compete, royalty, director fees, royalty for cinematographic films, technical services, and your operator BPOs के लिए 2%. Call center operators. Otherwise 10%. Limit is 30,000 for each, but director fees के लिए there is no limit. Clear? अब बहुत ही सिंपल से हैं जो मैं यहीं पे लिख के क्विकली समझा रही हूँ, which you can just give a read. इसमें अगर if 1 or 2 section students are skipped, they are because you can just give them a read. They are not very technical or very exam catchy. Please, I'm not saying कि इसको skip कर देना, but just give them a read. You will get it. So first of all is 194K, whereby if any income is coming from mutual fund units, then the UTI or the mutual fund, who is the deductor, will deduct the TDS at the rate of 10% if the payment is made to any resident person. Here the rate is 10% and the TDS deduction would be attracted if the income is 5,000 or more. 194 LA, any person compulsory acquiring the immovable property. So us compulsory acquire के ऊपर whatever compensation is given to the resident person, that will attract the TDS at the rate of 10%. And here TDS is at the time of payment. And no TDS if the compensation is up to 2,50,000. And यहाँ पे only immovable property would be covered other than rural agricultural land and urban agricultural land. Okay. 194 IA में rural agricultural land is excluded. 194 LA में rural urban दोनों agricultural lands are excluded. Okay. Clear? एक last section करते हैं 194M before the break, and then we'll go on the break. Okay. So you see कितने सारे sections cover हो रहे हैं इसके साथ साथ. Oh, interesting. Good speed right now. Till अभी तक किसी को कोई भी doubt? Kaushiki 194 IC, if you know section 45 subsection 5A, वहां पे joint development agreement में क्या होता है? The builder takes your property and in return as a compensation they give you a built flat. मतलब वो आपका flat तोड़ के, this is very common in North India especially, they take your property, your land only, and then as a compensation they build that property from the scratch again and give you a floor or a two, and along with that they give you some consideration. So only जो consideration दिया जाएगा, irrespective of whatever the amount is, the TDS will be deducted at 10% by the builder. Simple. Okay. So in the list I've added 194M. Let's proceed to section 194M. Okay, now एक बार इसका heading बना please. Payment made by individual or HUF or a contract for contract work or by way of commission or brokerage or fees for professional services. Now you will say guys, ये तो sections पढ़े हैं ना, 194C contract work. By way of commission or brokerage 194H and professional services. सबसे पहले तो यहाँ पे सिर्फ professional services है, technical services नहीं है, royalty नहीं है, only professional services है. Okay, 194J. So ma'am, why a separate section? Again, focus on the word payment by individual or HUF. तो यहाँ पे अब कौन कौन से individual HUF आएंगे? Those who were not covered in those respective section. Those who were not covered in those respective section. Again, the idea of introducing the sections a couple of years back was to get the information about transactions which are happening at a large volume and a large amount, or at a large transaction value between individual and HUF in such types of payment, but because of the restriction in those sections cannot be covered. So सबसे पहले तो we will understand कौन कौन से individual HUF 194C में covered नहीं थे. 194C में individual and HUF who had turnover less than 1 crore or 50 lakhs in the preceding years, they were not covered. Also, individual and HUFs who were making the payment of personal nature, they were not covered 194C में, right? 194H में personal nature वाला कोई criteria नहीं था, but obviously individual and HUF who did not have any turnover of profession or had turnover of profession and had gross receipts of professional turnover less than 50 lakhs or 1 crore respectively. Then 194J may be who did not have the business at all, or the profession at all, or if they had a business or profession, then in the preceding year 1 crore से less in case of business turnover था, या 50 लाख से less in case of profession gross receipts था, plus personal nature वाले भी excluded थे, right? All of these. So now can I conclude that if I'm making the payment in the nature of personal nature for contract or professional fees, then 194J, 194J and C are not applicable, but 194M might be attracted. Or can I exclude that if I'm a non-business or professional person, but I'm making the payment in the nature of contract, commission, or brokerage, or professional services, then 194M can be covered? Yes, definitely. Absolutely right. Or if I can say I'm having a business or profession, but I have a low turnover, then but I'm making payments of contract, commission, or brokerage, or profession. I'm not covered in the respective sections, which is C, H, and J, but I'll be covered under 194M. Right? Sabse pehle to you have to understand who are the deductors, eligible deductors. Now, since again the idea comes here कि compliances से बचने के लिए C, H, and J में we were not covering. Also, again, just like this, section would again be a no TAN section. So to deduct TDS under this section, again, you do not require TAN. 194 IB, 194 IA, and 194M now. No TAN. Okay, and the idea is pretty clear because यहाँ पे you can see कौन से individuals and HF cover हो रहे, right? Now, please write deductor वाला column clear हो गया. Now come to deducting. Who would be the deducting? Deducting again can be any resident person. Any resident person. Now here rate is 5%. Rate 5%. अब यहाँ पे threshold you will see and you will get to know कि यहाँ पे छोटी मोटी transactions cover नहीं हो रही. You don't have to worry. Threshold per payee or per deductee is more than 50 lakhs per annum in for all types of payments. This is not 750 lakhs, guys. This is more than ka sign. More than 50 lakhs per annum for all types of payments. So let's give you an example. I am Mr. A making a payment to Mr. not B. Let's take Mr. C. Okay. I'm making a payment. He is a very good friend of mine. He got me a very pretty house. So I'm making a payment of brokerage, okay, of say 10 lakhs. At the same time, since he's been into a property business, he's a very good interior decorator. He's a very good interior decorator, and I'm making the payment of 45 lakhs for that interior decorator services. At the same time, he did some contractual work for me. मैंने इसको material supply किया. He made that into very pretty furniture as per my specifications. So 194C में cover हो गया. And for that, I paid him 4 lakhs. So now the question comes, इतना तो clear है कि मैं 194C में cover नहीं हूँ because I am a salaried individual. Okay. मैं 194J में भी नहीं हूँ, H में भी नहीं हूँ. But 194M में I will be covered. But here 3 types of payments are there. I'm making payment to Mr. C of 10 plus 45, which is 55 plus 4, 59 lakhs. Now, will TDS would be deducted here? The answer is yes. The TDS would be deducted here because 50 lakhs limit is for the pay, irrespective of the type of payment I'm making to him. So, since I've made him itna sara payment for these 3 services, which are covered here under this section, then I have to deduct the TDS at the rate of 5%. So 59 lakhs pay 5%. I will deduct the TDS, which is 2,95,000, and the remaining I will give it to him. But had it been a case where instead of Mr. C, मिस्टर सी को मैंने सिर्फ ब्रोकरेज दी होती एंड इंटीरियर डेकोरेटर के लिए मैंने मिस्टर डी को बोला होता, सोफा का ये जो कस्टमाइजेशन है उसके लिए आई वुड हैव टोल्ड मिस्टर ई. Even if I'm making 59 lakhs the payment of the services which are being given under 194M, but it is not to just one person. These are to different person. Then I will not deduct the TDS. Then I will not deduct the TDS. The limit is per pay. Just remember that. Okay. Is it clear? Again, this is a note and section. Just one return, come challan form under section form 26 QD has to be filed here. किसी को कोई भी डाउट? इस वेरी सिंपल सा सेक्शन है बट इंटरेस्टिंग सेक्शन है. See, so this is how very smartly they are covering all the loopholes which are there in the tax provisions, with especially covering those transactions which are high value. Perfect. So now we'll take a break. अभी तक जितने सेक्शंस करे हैं एक बारी उनको देखो. इन केस यू हैव एनी डाउट्स आई टेक इट आफ्टर द ब्रेक एंड then we'll resume with section 194N. I want to finish all the tedious part today, but I doubt because 194N है, 194O है, 194Q है, 194P है, 194R है, and all of these are pretty lengthy sections and pretty important sections. So let's see you all after the break. Thank you. So welcome back after the break, everyone. I hope everyone got time to revise and research the section. I think TDS personally is very interesting to relate and to see how government tries to get all the information and get also the income as the source of taxes. But at the same time, I know there are number of sections. I think we will start now, which is written as per section point number 26. But yes, there are numbers of sections and each has different points to relate to. But yeah, if you will not, you have to remember the rates. At the same time, if you will not ratify other provisions, and you will relate to what actually the concept of the section is, why so and so deductors are covered, why so and so deductees are covered, what are the special points you have to remember. I'm assuring you 8 to 10 marks in your exams. So please try to relate tax as much as possible. Okay, so let's begin now with section 194N. Now, this particular section is not a pair P section basically. अभी तक I told you कि income बनता है और when they deduct TDS and at the same time net of TDS नहीं पूरा income जो आपको होता है that is your income, right? So, but 194N, again, this was a section which was introduced with the digitalization vision of our Prime Minister. So, what this section says, section 194N, this is just a 2 years old section, very new section. This is TDS on cash withdrawal, again to curb cash economy, cash-based economy, and to promote digitalization. TDS on cash withdrawals were introduced. First of all, cash withdrawals not from between friends. This would be again here the deductor would be the banks, cooperative banks, and post office, as you can see on the screen. Okay, now who would be the deductee? First of all, deductee can be any person, resident or non-resident, does not matter. Deductee can be any person, resident or not resident. So if you withdraw the cash of more than 1 crore, 1 crore, 1, 2, 3, 4. So more than 1 crore cash withdrawal happens from any account maintained with such bank, then they will deduct TDS at the rate of 2% on the excess amount. Excess amount मतलब more than 1 crore. 1 crore पे TDS काटने लग गए तो हो गया काम, right? So more than 1 crore जो भी amount होगा on the excess amount, the TDS would be deducted at the rate of 2%. So suppose if, and यहाँ पे देखिए, so if Mr. X, he has saving account and he has current account with, which bank should we say? ICICI. Okay, let's say he has a saving and current account with ICICI. Saving account से he withdrew 20 lakhs and current account से he withdrew 95 lakhs. So they are crossing 1 crore on 5 lakhs, not on your 105 lakhs, on 5 lakhs, sorry, on 15 lakhs, they will deduct the TDS at the rate of 2%. So 30,000 would be the tax deducted from your account. Now, यहाँ पे, if they are deducting TDS, that does not mean that the amount on which TDS is deducted would become your income. No, that does not mean at all. बाकी cases में, obviously, it was becoming your income or the consideration value. But यहाँ पे it does not become your income. This section would not take the amount on which TDS is deducted. It will become your income. No, basically government ने ये section क्यों लिया? The person who is withdrawing so much of cash, where actually he is using. If he's withdrawing, oh, imagine he's withdrawing a cash of more than 1 crore. That means certainly he must be having some business or some receipts and payments to make. So basically government wants to track those people. अब यहाँ पे interesting thing क्या है? to promote एक ही section से government try to achieve another objective also. So if a person is a non-filer मतलब he does not file his return when applicable. He's a non-filer of return. एक section 206 AB है which deals with non-filing of return. That is, all these are all miscellaneous sections which we'll do. But यहाँ पे non-filer का अलग provision. Okay, so if the person is a non-filer of return, that means he has not filed the return for 3 years. For all the three, first of all, for 3 years, the return has not filed, and the due date under section 139(1) for these 3 years have passed in the current previous year, then he would be considered as a specified person. He would be considered as a specified person. And in that case, the changes would be made. First, instead of 1 crore, if he withdraws more than 20 lakhs, TDS would be attracted. So 20 lakhs is 20 lakhs up to 1 crore, whatever he withdraws, TDS would be at the rate of 2%. And more than 1 crore, if he withdraws, TDS would be at the rate of 5%. On the excess amount of 1 crore, 5% TDS, and between 20 lakhs to 1 crore, whatever is the difference, 2% का TDS. Obviously, TDS would be deducted here on withdrawal. यहाँ पे कोई due का basis नहीं होगा. So, what are the 3 years? So, suppose I'm talking about previous year 22-23. Previous year 22-23. अब इसमें obviously, which is your previous year 21-22 का return filing period तो भी नहीं escape हुआ होगा, right? So this year we will ignore. जिसका return filing का period इसमें lapse हो गया है, we have to cover those. So previous year 2021, or you can say assessment year 21-22, previous year 19-20, and previous year 18-19, correct? So if in तीनों साल का return has not been filed by the person who is withdrawing cash, so then instead of 1 crore, 194N would be triggered the moment he withdraws more than 20 lakhs. More than 20 lakhs. And if he withdraws more than 1 crore, the TDS would be 5%. So let's say you will ask him, ma'am, how the bank will get to know, will they have to take the ITR of all the persons who are withdrawing? No. So इसके लिए the income tax has a special portal, reporting portal है, वहाँ पे इनको special logins के साथ they can upload the bulk PAN of all their account holders, and they can check whether the person is a specified person or not. So those who would be a specified person, that means they are a defaulter, that means उनका higher TDS काटना है. Those are not a specified person की list में, that means they are not the defaulter or the non-filer, उनका normal जो भी specified rates है उस पे TDS काटना है. Okay, then let's take an example of this 20 lakhs and 5 crore, and this is for bank limit. Mr. X withdraws, he's not a non-filer, he's a regular filer, 30 lakhs from Kotak Bank, then 40 lakhs from ICICI, and he withdraw, this is all in the same previous year, 60 lakhs from HDFC. Will the TDS would be attracted? The answer is no, because the limit is per bank and per account holder, per pay or per withdrawing. Unke different accounts say if he's withdrawing, that is a problem. But if he's withdrawing from different banks, that would again be a loophole here. He can do that. So that person would not be covered. Okay. So यहाँ पे no one will deduct the TDS. Clear? I was taking the example of 20 lakhs. Everyone on the screen, please. Let's take an example of a person, उन्होंने withdraw करा on respective dates. एक पहले withdraw किया 10 lakhs, फिर 35 lakhs, फिर 25 lakhs. I'm talking about a non-filer. Then he withdraw 45 lakhs. This is 45. And then he withdraw 30 lakhs. Say. Accumulate करते हैं, यहाँ तक 10 हुआ, यहाँ तक accumulated 45 हुआ, यहाँ पे 70. This is goes to 110 and 115. And यहाँ पे 145. Correct? अब how the TDS would be deducted? यहाँ पे no TDS would be deducted. यहाँ पे above 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs पे 2% TDS 50,000. Then Then on the next 25 lakhs, again 50,000 TDS, 194 anyway. Then again now यहाँ पे 1 crore से भी ज़्यादा हो रहा है. So on the 30 lakhs, which is 70 lakhs above to 1 crore, TDS would be at 2%, and on the 15 lakhs, TDS would be at the rate of 5%. Total करेंगे I think 135 आएगा. Okay. Then above this 30 lakhs pay 5%, so 1,50,000. Clear? This is how the TDS would be deducted. Any doubt? अब यहाँ पे obviously certain clarifications आई by the department कि how because some people are there who actually deal in a lot of cash withdraw उनको करना पड़ता है because of the business they are in. So how will they be protected? So let's understand about them. First of all, 194N would not be applicable if the person who's withdrawing is a government, any bank, cooperative banks, post office, any business correspondent of a banking company or a cooperative society engaged in the business of banking, any white label ATM operators. So if they are withdrawing because they are ultimately into cash, so they are withdrawing, they will not deduct the TDS. So if suppose X bank withdraws from Y bank will not deduct the TDS. Second thing, इसके अलावा there were few people notified. Now first you would ask me, what is white label ATM operator? So white label ATM operators, ATMs are operated either by banks or they are label operating agencies or they are ATM operating agencies. So one of the most common operating agency which has around 80,000 or 8,000 ATM being operated is India One Payments. They are white label ATM operators. So obviously ATM को चलाने के लिए they need to withdraw a lot of cash, so they are excluded from it. उसके बाद government did notify other people after consulting from the stakeholders of the economy who if withdraw the amount would not if withdraw the amount more than 1 lakh or more than 1 crore would not attract section 194N. First of all, they are cash replacement agencies. Cash replacement agencies कौन सी होती है? Replenishment का मतलब क्या होता है? When something finishes, okay, getting replenished. So ATMs में cash को कैसे manage करना है? There are cash management agencies like cash CRAs, cash replenishment agencies. We have it by the name of cash management agencies who generally look कि यहाँ पे कितना footfall है ATM पे, how much cash is required in that ATM, because unnecessary keeping cash is also not a good part to, because you can put your liquidating assets some other places, right? So there are many cash management agencies or cash replenishment agencies who take care of all these, how much cash is to be there in the ATM. They fill in the cash when the cash in the ATM falls below a certain limit. So these are those agencies. So for them also, since they are into the business of cash replenishment or ensuring that there's a sufficient cash in the ATMs, In these cases, in these agencies also, this limit of 194N would not apply, Then APMCs, Agriculture Produce Market Committees, के जो agents होते हैं and traders होते हैं, like आरतीस, you call it in Hindi. So now what they do, agent and traders, they have to procure it from the farmers at ground levels, and then they bring that produce in mandis, and then it is sold. Okay. So the person who's the agent or the trader or the middleman of the APMC or the mandi, he is procuring it directly from the farmers. And obviously, farmers who procure करने के लिए, they don't, even if today we talk about digitalization and stuff, but they require in cash the amount. Okay. So hence the these agents and traders would deal a lot in cash, correct? Would deal a lot in cash. So that's why they are excluded from 194N. So provided they provide the PAN to the bank and they use the cash withdrawn for making such payments to the farmers only. ऐसा नहीं है कि cash withdraw करके they are spending it on marriages and other lavish expenses. No, they should use it for making the payment to the farmers only. Okay. Then obviously money exchangers, जो हमारे full time authorized dealers होते हैं, full fledged money changers होते हैं, they are taking foreign currency and giving you cash. So they deal a lot in cash. At the same time, if 1 crore limit is applied to them, they would be at misery. So that's why they are also excluded from 194N. Clear? Any doubt? So this is all about 194N, where any person who withdraws more than 1 crore, then 2% of TDS would be deducted by bank, cooperative bank or post office. This limit of 2% would be increased to 5%, or would be 2 and 5% for a non-filer, 2% for 20 lakhs to 1 crore, and above 1 crore, 5%. Non-filer is a person who has not filed the return of the last 3 years. Or the last 3 years, there is exceptions to 194N, whereby government, banking company, post office, white label ATM operators, cash replenishment agencies, agents of APMC, full-fledged money changers are not covered. Hence, if they withdraw more than 1 crore, 194N would not be attracted. Clear? Example also clear? Or we doubt? Under section 194N, shall we proceed? Superb. (194O). See, you will see the relevance as we proceed towards the end sections. The sections are getting more relevant as per the changing times. E-commerce participants and e-commerce operator. If I talk about 10 years back, e-commerce business was nothing in India, right? But today, major transactions are major in life of purchase of goods, services, be it Uber, be it Zomato, be it Flipkart, be it Amazon, everything is through e-commerce, right? So that's why it was very important to bring the transactions happening in the e-commerce world under the TDS ambit. So let's first understand यहाँ पे किसको TDS काटना है. You don't have to worry, nothing is coming to you to deduct the TDS. यहाँ पे there is no. Okay, let's discuss. Okay, at Amazon, I want to purchase a furniture. Say I want to purchase a dressing table. So the customer, I will either go to the local market, purchase it, or I will click on Amazon. So a dressing table. Now Amazon, even if it has the largest variety of goods and services, they don't have their own goods and services, though they now have a Solimo brand, etc. I'm not going into it now. So they contacted Home Style Furniture Wala and whatever, because now if you ever see, always on all products, the seller is mentioned. Who is the seller of the goods? Home Style Furniture Wala. I like that particular product. Okay? And this person has listed as product. Home Style Furniture Wala has listed as product on Amazon. I like that product and I purchased it. Now, where TDS is attracted. First of all, this Amazon is my e-commerce operator. He is my e-commerce operator. Amazon is my e-commerce operator. Homestyle Furniture, he is participating by his products or services. He would be a e-commerce participant. And I'm just a customer. My role is nothing weird, you will see. So they say any e-commerce operator, while making, or I'll read it clearly, in fact. पहले e-commerce operator participant समझ आया? Okay. So 194O is for the goods and services which are facilitated. I am highlighting the word facilitated by the e-commerce operator. Facilitated matlab the sale has happened for this participant through the operator, through Amazon. Homestyle का वो sale किसकी वजह से possible हुआ? Because of Amazon. So e-commerce operator is the facilitator of the sale of goods or services of an e-commerce participant through its digital facility or platform. Then such e-commerce operator is liable to deduct tax at 1% of the gross amount of such sales or services or both. Now, so when Amazon will pay to Homestyle Furniture wala the amount, he will deduct the TDS at the rate of 1%. Deduct the TDS at the rate of 1% at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Now, this e-commerce participant has to be a resident e-commerce participant. He cannot be a non-resident e-commerce participant, a resident e-commerce participant. ठीक है? यहाँ तक clear हुआ? Deductor clear, deductee clear, rate clear, threshold. What is the threshold? In general, there is no threshold limit. No threshold limit. Now, अभी यहाँ तक clear, अब other points आते हैं, right? First of all, you will say, ma'am, 1% of what? 1%. अब customer से some amount is taken, Amazon retains some commission and then pay to whom sell, right? Then 1% of what? Number one question will come. Number two question, first of all, यही highlight करते. So 1% of the, so suppose that article was for 30,000. जिसमें से Amazon kept its 10%, which is the commission amount. Or let's make it more interesting. Amazon gave 10% discount to me. Okay, 3,000. So 27,000 का article किसको पड़ा? Customer. Now, यहाँ पे 27,000 मैंने Amazon को पे किया. Now, Amazon deducted its commission of 10%, which is 2,700, and paid the Homestyle wala 24,300. Now the question comes, कि 1% किस पे कटेगा? Whether this 1% would be of 30,000, whether this 1% would be of 27,000, whether this 1% would be of 24,300. So the answer is the 1% of the gross value of the sale of goods or services. The gross value of the sale of goods or services, not this, not the MRP, the gross value of the sale of goods or services. So commission Amazon jitna marzi rakhe does not matter. 27,000 pay, they will deduct the TDS, which would be 1% of 27,270. Clear? Next thing, I told you that there is no threshold limit. There is no threshold limit, but one second. I told you there is no threshold limit, but if the e-commerce participant But if the e-commerce participant, यहाँ पे condition देखना क्या है ध्यान से, if is an individual or HUA plus the gross sale value पूरे साल का does not or is up to 5 lakh plus the individual HUA provides the PAN. Then in that case, no TDS would be required. So can you safely say yes in the case of your individual HUA, the threshold limit is 5 lakh. Yes, you can safely say that. The threshold limit is 5 lakh. Clear? But he has to provide his PAN number. Another, एक यहाँ पे एक line use होती है. I'll show you. So everyone, urban clap, सब इसमें आ जाएंगे. Don't worry. Deemed credit. यहाँ पे there is this very important point of deemed credit. Now, what is this deemed credit? I'll not read it. We'll understand it with the example. Okay, so it got hanged. Now, many a times, what happened? Am I audible? Am I audible now? Yeah. So one important concept, as was saying, was of deemed credit. Now, what is deemed credit? So many a times, what happens? If you have taken a service from Urban Clap or Urban Company or any platform, you will see there that what happens is that there's an option to pay directly at the end of the service. So I'm not paying it directly to the platform. I will pay it to the customer who will come to provide me the service, and he will take the money, right? So for example, Urban Company say there is this one beautician who is listed on the Urban Company. So beautician would be the e-commerce participant, Urban Company would be the e-commerce operator. Now this beautician came and gave the services to me. Okay, I am the customer and I paid her directly 5,000 rupees. Now the question comes, and the limit of 5 lakhs is crossed already during the year. The question comes whether Urban Company would deduct TDS of on this 5,000 rupees of 1%, yes or no? Whether Urban Company would deduct the TDS on this 5,000, because unke through to aaya nahi, they are not settling in here of how, whether they should deduct it or not. So the answer is yes. Is 5,000 PB, the TDS would be deducted, whatever other payments which they'll be making it through that platform, उस पे वो include कर लेंगे 1% fee 5,000 का, and they will deduct it. So this is called deemed credit. The reason is because this individual has taken the service of this beautician, but it was actually facilitated by the e-commerce operator, right? It was facilitated by the e-commerce operator. अगर वो Urban Company पे listed ही नहीं होती, I would have not taken the service. I would have not known her, right? So the facilitation is happening by the company. That's why they will deduct the TDS on this 5,000 also. This point is clear? Now, how will this happen? Will they repay back, or will they deduct it on, make it due and recover it? There are various cases. यहाँ तक clear? Perfect. So now, deemed credit wala part also clear. 1 second, my system is getting hanged. Just 1 second. Just allow me a moment. Okay. So as I was saying, this section has a quite supremacy. Supremacy in the sense means अगर TDS इस section में कटना है तो इसी section में कटेगा. You will see going further that there are certain other sections also which attract TDS on sales of goods, or there are other sections which attract TCS. So, but if 194O gets applied because of it being e-commerce operator, then TDS would be deducted in this section only. Also, if the TDS has been deducted under this section or was liable to be deducted, but because of that 5 lakh exemption could not be deducted. If the TDS is liable to be deducted in this section, but because of that 5 lakh benefit or because of that 5 lakh limit, the TDS was not required to be deducted, then no other section may, or then no other section may the TDS would be deducted. No, in no other section the person would be liable to deduct the TDS. One point is this. Another point here is that we are talking about e-commerce participants and e-commerce operator. Participant is who is doing sale of goods or services through that operator, right? But suppose you go to any website, many times some ads appear, right? They are not proper participant. They're just hosting their product there or hosting a certain advertisement or offer there. And then for that ad, they pay it to e-commerce operator. So will the TDS here would be required as a 194 transaction? The answer is no. This is an advertisement. ये 194C attract हो जाएगा और 194J attract हो जाएगा, as the case may be. But 194O would not be attracted. But now, as you saw, this section is a very, very relevant section to today's time, right? So there were many guidelines issued by CBDT in this respect, and we will cover one by one all such guidelines. There were some new guidelines also issued. So please focus on your screen. First of all, the first guideline says exchanges pay. Whatever transactions happens or are carried through various exchanges, they would not attract 194. अब sale purchase होता है, especially we're talking about recognized stock exchange. Sale purchase happens on recognized stock exchange. There are everyone is participant and one is giving, one is going, one is giving, one is going, but there is a voluminous transaction happening. Those cases may, even if you can say that the stock exchange is working as an operator, but no, 194O would not be applicable. Okay. Another is applicability on payment gateway. इसको please ध्यान से समझना, payment gateway का. Let me explain it. I came to purchase certain books on a website. Okay. And payment gateways क्या होते हैं? They facilitate the payments. And another way, they are also an e-commerce operator for the website. So Razorpay, there is one very common payment gateway जहाँ वो मुझे redirect कर देते हैं. The moment I want to make a payment on this website, I would be redirected to a payment gateway. So I'm redirected to Razorpay. I am redirected to Razorpay. The question comes, is Razorpay I will make the payment? Okay. Then Razorpay will give it back to the website and website will give it back to the e-commerce participant. Now, the question comes, Razorpay is also an operator for this website and website is a participant here in the case of Razorpay. Whether Razorpay will deduct the TDS while making to the payment to the website, and then website again would deduct TDS under 194O while making it the payment to its e-commerce participant. Whether that would happen, yes or no. First of all, you have to understand the scenario. The customer goes to the website, makes a payment for purchase of books, but for the making the payment, another payment gateway, which is Razorpay, which in itself is an e-commerce operator for the website. The gateway opens. I make the payment to Razorpay and I get a receipt. Razorpay will clear whatever the payment they've received for the website and they will make the payment to the website. Then website wala will make the payment to the e-commerce participant. The question comes whether Razorpay will deduct the TDS on the making the payment to the website, because इसमें भी relationship of participants and operator है. Here also there is a relationship of participant and operator. The clarification came that Razorpay is not required to deduct the TDS while making the payment to the website, provided the website wala, which is my website here, or the e-commerce operator, gives an undertaking that they will deduct the TDS on the same transaction, provided they gives an undertaking that they will deduct the TDS on the same transaction, then Razorpay will not deduct the TDS. Is it clear? यहाँ पे you have to relate it with actual terms, then only it would be clear. Next, particular applicability or clarification key on applicability on insurance aggregator. Now, what is actually this? Now, this is very common insurance wala. One is Policy Bazaar, or if I say one is Insurance Deco, right? These are all insurance aggregator. Now, मुझे first time term insurance कराना था. Say for 10 years, I had a plan in mind. I went to Policy Bazaar. They are the aggregator. I saw the insurance of few companies and I liked the plan of, say, IFCO Tokyo. I will make the payment on Policy Bazaar. I'm the customer. Now, first quickly identify who is the operator. This person is the operator. This person is the participant. Clear? Now, the customer will make the payment on Policy Bazaar, and IFCO Tokyo Policy Bazaar, after keeping their commission, will make the payment, right? Now, a question will come whether 194.0 would be attracted. Yes, 194 would be attracted because there is no threshold limit, number one, and they will deduct the TDS at the rate of 1% on the gross value of the services. We discussed the example. Now, in the subsequent year, IFCO Tokyo, every year I have to make the payment. Why will I go to Policy Bazaar? I will directly go to the IFCO Tokyo portal and I will make the payment subsequent years I'm talking about, the next 9 years, right? I will directly make the payment to the IFCO Tokyo. Now, the question which was raised by the insurance aggregator stakeholders, that in the subsequent years, where actually insurance aggregator is not playing any role, there is no involvement of the insurance aggregator in the subsequent years, there is no involvement of the insurance aggregator. The customer is directly dealing with the IFCO Tokyo, but IFCO Tokyo has to give commission every year to the Policy Bazaar because the term plan was sold on that. That is a story. Whether in the subsequent years, Policy Bazaar has to deduct TDS under 194.0 for the subsequent premium paid by the customer directly to IFCO Tokyo. Policy Bazaar ko to information mein nahi aa raha ki when he is paying and how, though they know how much he is paying, but they are not getting the information, right? So obviously it would lead unnecessary to the hardship just because the product was sold one time from their platform. So there came a clarification that in the subsequent year, I'm not talking about the first year, I'm talking about the subsequent year, once the policy is being sold and there is no as such involvement of the aggregator, then in that case, aggregator is not liable to deduct tax. The aggregator is not liable to deduct tax because the transaction is happening between the company and the buyer. Clear? 194.0 नहीं आएगा. हाँ, 194H मेफको टोक्यो जो भी पॉलिसी बाजार का कमीशन हो रहा है वो 194H उनका चलता रहेगा. ओके, क्लियर, परफेक्ट. देन proceeding to next. Now this is what e-auctioners recently came as an amendment. Very, very interesting, and how I am very surprised how beautifully the income tax department applies all this and take care of all the provisions. Okay, everyone on the screen please. Now one such e-auction को समझने के लिए let's take an example of housing.com or magic bricks, or there was recently when एक और था ना nobroker.com. तो इसमें क्या होता है e-auctioners को समझने के लिए? What happens here? The product is listed, a person just comes and see, and ultimately the dealing happens between the buyer, the owner of the house, and the customer looking for that particular service or that particular asset or that particular property, right? So these housing.com, these work, or no broker, or magic bricks, these are working as an e-auctioners. वहां पे बस वो auction करते हैं वो owner का product, and they just show a basic price which is there for that product so that the customer can contact them, right? अब उसके बाद customer and owner में what transactions is happening, we don't know. मेरे को finally नहीं पता कि owner and customer ने negotiation kari, how much was the amount which they fixed for that rent, how much is actually going to be, when are they going to take up every other things, every other negotiations. I am housing broker, I don't know, right? So the question comes whether the e-auctioneer, though sort of a facilitator they happen, but they were not actually a facilitator for the proper provision of services. They were just a platform for price discovery and for starting the negotiation, right? The question comes whether e-auctioners have to deduct any TDS while making the payment to the owners. The answer is no, because unko to payment they will not even receive from the customer. Whatever will happen at a later stage between owner and customer. They were just there to start the discussion and has happened, right? So e-auctioners in this case would not be liable, would not be responsible for deducting the TDS because they did not actually facilitate the purchase and sale. They were just there as a pamphlet giving the price discovery. They were just there for the price discovery. They don't have any information about what quantum or what was the schedule of payment. They do not have any information. So TDS का obviously deduction का concept ही नहीं आता, right? IndiaMart, yes, IndiaMart is also one of the e-commerce operator who भी ऐसे करते हैं, but they are the e-auctioner. I'll not say e-commerce operator. Huh. 194O would not be attracted. Any other section can attract. Now suppose owner and housing.com pe there are owner will list something to house it, will pay something to housing.com. It may attract any other section which we will study. 194Q, 206C, 1H, wo alag provision hai, but 194O would not be attracted. So these were the very important guidelines which are there for 194O. A question again, now this is the latest one, a question definitely can come from it. Just give it a moment and then we'll proceed to the next section. Okay, guys, everyone on the screen, please. Clear सबको? चलिए आगे. Next, we come to section 194P, deduction of tax. One second. Yeah. So deduction of tax by specified bank in case of specified senior citizen. Now, first of all, this section clears one thing, that who would be the deductor? Deductor is the bank. यहाँ पे इतना तो हमें clear हो गया that deductor obviously would be specified banks. Who would be the deductee? Now यहाँ पे deductee, who is the deductee? Deductee is a senior citizen, resident senior citizen. अब यहाँ we have known for the maximum part of the income tax, a senior citizen is a person who's of 60 years or more. But to bring in the section when it was introduced was to give some relief to very senior citizen. अब वो 80 years को भी touch नहीं करना चाहते थे. So for this particular section, the senior citizens or the resident senior citizens or the specified senior citizens are those who are of the age of 75 years or more at any time during the previous year. Okay, at any time during the previous year. So सबसे पहले deductor is the specified bank. Deductee is the resident senior citizen of 75 years or more at any time during the year. अब यहाँ पे what very important is, now this section came, and this section came as a relief to senior citizens who have just two types of income. They are not investing anywhere. They have one pension and interest income. Please listen carefully. Pension and interest income. And दोनों जिस account में pension आ रहा है, जिस bank account में you're receiving the pension, you have the interest income from that bank only. So suppose my pension comes into Canara Bank. I am a 75-year-old woman. My pension comes into Canara Bank. I have interest income, and that interest income is from Canara Bank only. Now that interest income can be of savings, can be of FD. The idea is that Canara Bank knows all my income, and those incomes are of only two types. One is pension, one is interest. No other income. One is pension, one is interest, and no other income. Tabhi they will become a specified bank when I have the income which is only in the nature of pension and interest, and that interest is only coming from Canara Bank. The moment I have interest income from other banks, I would be ineligible for this 194P. 194P would not be attracted. Now, as then when I wrote interest, you would have thought, कि ma'am, 1 second, 194A is also interest, उसमें भी banks हैं, उसमें भी resident payee है. Why are we not talking about that? So the moment 194P is attracted, 194A would not be attracted, number one. 194A would not be attracted. कोई और बैंक है ही नहीं, सिर्फ एक ही बैंक है जहां पे मुझे पेंशन मिल रहा है, मेरा पेंशन उसी बैंक के अकाउंट में आ रहा है, and I have interest income from that bank only. Okay. Now the question comes, the rate of the TDS and the time of the TDS. Now interestingly, this section does not tell about the time, but they tell one thing, that the person would give a declaration that he has no other income, only he has pension and interest, which is there with the Canara Bank. उनके पास सारा information है. Number one. Number two, bank will then prepare a computation. They will compute the income of the senior citizen for that relevant assessment year. And will give all the benefits. जैसे 87A का deduction है, मेरा as a senior citizen, if I have any chapter 6A के deductions, they give me, because obviously interest aa raha hai, to TTB भी applicable ho sakta hai, right? So they will give me the deductions, they will prepare a computation, and then will deduct the tax. Whatever tax is coming due on my income, same tax they will deduct. If no tax is coming due, no problem. But if tax is coming due, same tax they will deduct under 194P. So can I say there is no rate as such, but the rate here would be the rates in force applicable on such income, number one. Number two, as such, this section does not tell me the time limit when the TDS is to be deducted. And there is no threshold limit also. I can have jitna marzi pension and jitna marzi interest. There is no threshold limit कि मेरे को 194P में eligible होने के लिए threshold चाहिए. No. I will give the declaration, bank will make a computation, whatever tax is becoming due, they will deduct it. As simple as that. Pension can be from saving, FD, any particular thing. Now, the next question you will ask, my family pension is also covered or not? The declaration is given as 12 VBA. Yeah. So you will say that family pension bhi aa jata hai. Family pension, you know what is family pension? So person whose main pension was it, so if that person get deceased, then his spouse gets that pension. Okay, that is family pension. So honestly, family pension का कहीं पे mention नहीं है, only pension लिखा है. कहीं पे it's not even mentioned that pension should be that which is taxed under the head salary. So that is also not written. So in evidence of why this section came with what intent, basically to give the relief to the senior citizen. And also once this is done, the senior citizen does not even have to file the return of income. So he's free from all his compliances because income sara bank ke paas hai, tax sab bank ne kaat liya if required, so no need to file the return. So the intention was to give a relief to senior citizen from filing the return, and those who have just limited source of income, and that limited source of income ka details is with bank. So hence people still say ki pension mein family pension may or should be included because the intention is to give the relief to senior citizen. But having said that, the family pension should come to the same bank which we're talking about and where he's had an interest. Also, if we say ki, if the person has any exempt income, whether that would make him eligible or whether that would make him ineligible from claiming the benefit given under section 194P. So again, the answer is very debatable. If they have any exempt income, they should not be treated out of the scope from section 194P. But again, the law is still not clear on that. Second question you will ask, if they have any other interest, like interest on debentures, then like interest on income tax refund, what will happen then? They will not be eligible for 194P. They will not be eligible. Interest purely from the same bank. Even kisi all banks interest hai, 194P nahi aayega, then the respective banks will deduct TDS under 194A. Then the respective banks will deduct TDS under 194A. And if required, the senior citizen has to file the return then. 194P, one bank, same bank में pension, same bank में interest. Clear? This question would actually help you understand it. Is it clear? चले आगे. Aage, the most important section is coming, 194Q. I will not take it from here. I'll take from क्लियर? बढ़े आगे 194 ओ पी, किसी में भी डाउट? चलो परफेक्ट, थैंक यू कौशिकी. Now 194Q, deduction of tax on purchase of goods. Let's first identify the transaction, how it's happening. Deductor is here the buyer, because obviously he will make the payment, he's the source. Deductee here can be a resident seller. So if the buyer purchases a book from goods, only goods, not services, okay? So the buyer purchases the goods from the resident seller, the TDs under 194Q would be attracted at the rate of 0.1% if the goods purchased from such resident seller is of more than 50 lakhs. More than 50 lakhs. And the tax would be deducted on the sum excess than 50 lakhs. So simple A limited and B limited. B limited is the sole supplier or the sole vendor of A limited of raw materials, and there has been a sale of 70 lakhs from B limited to A limited. Then A limited, while making the payment, would deduct TDS on 20 lakhs at the rate of 0.1%, which is 2,000. Simple. But does it mean all buyers have to deduct the TDS? No. The buyer, who is a big voluminous buyer, who in the preceding year had a turnover of more than 10 crores. Turnover of more than 10 crores, then only 194Q would be applicable. So first criteria, buyer should be an eligible deductor. That is, he would become an eligible deductor if in the preceding financial year mein unka turnover was more than 10 crore. Secondly, the sale from that one seller per pay limit hai, per pay deductee limit hai, resident seller is more than 50 lakhs. Third, the TDS will be deducted on the excess sum, which is 0.1%. Excess sum एक यहाँ पे 194Q में है, and excess sum is on 194N. Otherwise, everywhere when the limit crosses, you deduct the TDS on the entire amount. Okay. Time limit, due or paid, whichever is earlier. Credit or paid, whichever is earlier. अब ऐसा same corresponding provision, student, you will study when we will be doing TCS under section 206C 1H. वो corresponding provision है. First this scheme, then this scheme. That provision is ulta. That means the collector will collect tax, as in the seller will collect tax when the sale is more than 50 lakhs from the buyer, provided the seller has more than 10 crores ka turnover in the preceding year. So interplay hoga sections from abhi we will understand it from the perspective of TDS. Then once we'll do this TCS wala part, we'll make a thorough comparison ki when 194Q would be applicable, when 206C 1H would be applicable, collection and deduction both at the same time can be applicable or not. So that would be very, very interesting to see. But for that, you have to understand both the sections individually first, retain them, and then compare them. मैं immediately comparison कराऊंगी, so it would become a khichdi. Okay, so we'll do it one by one. But remember, simple सा चीज, if TCS is collected, then TDS would not happen. But अगर दोनों में से कुछ भी नहीं हुआ, then TDS would have a supremacy over TCS. Okay, but since we have done 194O and 194Q, so e-commerce participant एंड ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर वहां पे भी तो एक तरीके से बायर सेलर का रिलेशनशिप है, राइट? सो योर क्वेश्चन वुड कम कि whether 194O would be applicable or 194Q would be applicable. The answer is 194O would be applicable. E-commerce operator will deduct the tax. If prima facie you think that both the sections would be applicable, then in that case only 194O would be applicable. ठीक है, बट यहाँ पे अगेन there were certain guidelines which came during the previous year and this year, which we'll go one by one and understand it. First of all, जो latest आया, first let's understand that. ओके, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन सबके माइंड में आ रहा होगा कि मैम इफ प्रीसीडिंग ईयर का टर्नओवर ही नहीं पता, फर्स्ट टाइम कंपनी है, द कंपनी गॉट इनकॉर्पोरेटेड इन दिस ईयर, 194Q would be applicable or not? First, this question must be coming in your mind whether 194Q would be applicable or not. No, it would not be applicable. So in the first year of incorporation, 194Q applicable nahi hoga, even if from a fund seller you are purchasing for a value of 50 lakhs or more, it would not be applicable. Second question which comes in the mind is, I told you the TDS has to be deducted on credit or payment, whichever is earlier, right? Up next question which comes is, ye to clear ho gaya. Next question is come ki whether if the goods has a bill with GST, VAT, extra other indirect taxes पे लगे हुए हैं, whether the TDS has to be deducted on the full amount of the bill or on the amount excluding GST, VAT, sales tax, etc. So you will say excluding the GST, VAT, sales tax amount. Obviously, but that should be indicated separately on the bill. Indicated separately on the bill. Right? Clear? But when you are making the advance payment, abhi bill nahi aaya, you have not received the bill. That time, suppose I'm making the advance payment of 50 lakhs or say 57 lakhs. That time, how will I know whether the GST component, though I might have a rough idea, etc., but GST component इस पे कितना है, should I deduct? Because यहाँ पे तो गवर्नमेंट ने कह दिया कि 18% या GST component हटा के आपको TDS काटना. Since the amount involved are high, the questions might come, right? But advance payment के time, if I'm deducting the TDS at the time of payments, if it is coming earlier, which is the advance payment scenario, I will deduct the TDS on the entire amount. I will deduct the TDS on the entire amount I'm making the payment. इसमें I will not say कि 57 lakhs में से TDS होगा, GST होगा इतना, remaining amount पे I will deduct the TDS. No, 57 lakhs पे exact 7 lakhs पे 0.1% I will deduct. But suppose if the bill comes first, that means credit has happened first. Then I will see okay, whatever is the amount excluding the GST, VAT, sales tax, extra, etc. उस पे then I will deduct in excess of 50 lakhs 0.1%. So one is this clarification which came. Is it clear? Another is just like 194O, जैसे अभी हमने पढ़ा 194O में, that the transactions which are happening through exchanges, 194 is not attracted. Similarly, on that transaction, 194Q is also not attracted. On that transactions, 194Q is also not attracted. So sale purchase which happens through recognized stock exchange like Bombay Stock Exchange, MCX Exchange, even if that stock exchange is there in the IFSC, the TDS 194Q would not be applicable, and you see 2060 1H is also not applicable. Okay. then adjustment is purchase return. Yeah, adjustment in case of purchase return. Now वहां पे purchase return क्या होता है सब अब मैं बताती हूँ यहाँ पे क्या हुआ. I made the advance payment, I deducted the TDS. बाद में bill आया मेरे पास, माल आया. Okay, I got the goods. I saw कि there are certain goods which are not up to the mark. So there are two options. One option is either I will ask for the refund or a credit note, okay, or I will get the goods replaced. ठीक है. अब जब replacement हुआ तो वहां पे TDS का कुछ as such rule नहीं आया because already on the goods on which replacement happens the TDS has been deducted. But now if I ask about the refund, I ask about the refund and the seller gives me the refund amount. He gives me the amount of the goods which were defected. He gives me that. Now the point comes, what about the TDS? Should I return the TDS? What should happen? Should I revise my return? What should happen? So the clear guideline from the department is that you do not have to revise the return. You do not have to do anything in that case. Just adjust this excess TDS with the next bill which comes. So next, अब suppose करो, I have deducted the TDS, 70 lakhs का good था, 20 lakhs पे I have deducted 0.1%, but 1 lakh I have 1 lakh का goods I have returned back. So next time, अगर 30 lakhs का good आता है, तो I will deduct the TDS only on 29 lakhs. 1 lakh के जो TDS extra adjustable पड़ा हुआ है, I will adjust it. Okay, I will adjust it. So this is what they say. Once the return happens, do not go and revise the return and go to the procedure. That does not happen in case of TDS anyway. Okay. Advance payment wala part clear. This part also clear, right? Then next question comes. Should the tax be deducted when the seller is a person whose income is exempt? So seller ka income exempt hoga, suppose section 10 mein, ya he is enjoying any benefit, special benefit on which through certain acts. So whether I should deduct the TDS, the answer is no. If the income is exempt, the TDS would not be deducted. Another clarification which came was about this 10 crore. You are saying 10 crore preceding year का turnover होना चाहिए. Whether it should be the turnover from the business activity या उसको कोई capital receipts हुआ है, capital gains हुआ है, everything would come under turnover. So that has been pretty much obvious and clear that since we're talking about sales of goods, etc., so only business turnover. So if in the preceding year, the business turnover is more than 10 crores, then only the TDS would be deducted. Non-business turnover should not be considered. Also, if you're making the sale to any central or state, if the seller is any central or state government department, any department, then 194Q would not be applicable. Now, whether government being a buyer have to deduct TDS, that comes if government is into commercial activity, then they have to deduct the TDS. If government is not into commercial activity, they don't have to deduct the TDS. Okay, because वो buyer नहीं है, वो किसी objective को achieve करने के लिए कर देंगे, not for the purpose of obtaining something. So that's all about 194Q. Yes, comparison of that with 206C1H is required, and we will do once we do the section of TCS. एक बारी go through कर लो, please. If you have any doubt, we'll be taking it. Costly not a sole supplier. मेरे कोई भी vendor हो सकता है जिससे 50 lakhs से ज़्यादा का transaction है of sale of goods in one financial year. Whoa. I gave an example just of a sole supplier. ठीक है, चलिए आगे. Perfect. This is a very important section. Now, $194R. Now, this section, which is applicable from July 2022, is a very new section and guaranteeing a question from maybe guaranteeing a question for the exam purpose, because this is actually a very new section, very, very important section. First, let's understand why this section came again. ब्रेक करके चलेंगे, बहुत सारी क्लैरिफिकेशन है. लेट्स सी मैक्सिमम क्लैरिफिकेशन वी कैन कवर टुडे. बहुत सारी क्लैरिफिकेशन इसके अंदर. ब्रेक करके वील डू. फर्स्ट आई वांट टू रीड दिस लाइन विद यू. एनी पर्सन हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर प्रोवाइडिंग, सबसे पहले इसको हाईलाइट करिए, टू अ रेजिडेंट एनी बेनिफिट or perquisite, whether convertible into money or not, please highlight benefit or perquisite, arising from the business or exercise of a profession by such resident, has to, before providing such benefit or perquisite, has to deduct the TDS. Now 194R matlab benefit. So I was just telling you, the 194O we studied that how much the government is trying to make these sections relevant and introducing new sections as per the changing needs, as per the present economy scenario. From the past 2-3 years, this business or profession of influencers have taken a rise, and this is something which gave birth to section 194R. Isse pehle, there was no particular section to attract TDS. I'm not saying they were not getting taxable. I'm saying there was no particular section to attract TDS. So that's why they came up with the name deduction of tax at source of benefit of perquisite in respect of business or profession. Matlab, I am a person who is running a business or profession, and due to it, I am getting some benefit or perquisite. Then whosoever is a provider of that benefit, has to deduct TDS while providing me that benefit. I'm not talking about a general sale or purchase of goods happening. Now suppose, बहुत common example लेते हैं, काफी जगह टेक्सटाइल एसोसिएशंस है, like Gujarat Textile Associations, and they have their traders across India, and they say that achieve the targets and then they take them on trips, and this is true. They give a targets to traders. If the traders achieve those targets, they will take them on trips and foreign tours. Okay? Or they give them some benefits or some other purposes. Now, honestly, between traders and textile association, there is no relationship of employer-employee. You cannot say कि trader को तो ये benefit मिल रहा है, perquisite मिल रहा है, मैम perquisite तो section 17 मांगे. No, there is no employer-employee relationship. Trader is getting this benefit because of exercise of the profession or business. Correct. The textile association is responsible for providing this benefit. So that benefit, which is in the form of tours or in the form of trips, that benefit का TDS कहीं तो attract होना चाहिए, right? अब obviously वो TDS कैसे attract होगा? I'll come to that. How will on in-kind TDS they will take? But first you have to understand what types of transactions are covered here. ठीक है? Textile associations and traders, you can take an example. Another example can be of influencer. I'm an influencer and artist. Okay, I get free products. So these free products I get from companies, I get from manufacturers to promote on the platform. Now this is because of me exercising my profession as an artist. I'm getting all these products to promote, and I'm getting this free of cost. So these are benefits or purposes. Again, 194R would be attracted, because who would deduct the TDS? That is different story. But Who are the deductee and deductee? First, let's understand. The person who is responsible for providing the benefit is the deductor, and the person who is getting the benefit because of the business or profession he or she is exercising. This is important. If I'm a general customer, I'm getting anything free, not because of the business or profession I'm into it. That is not 194R. That is not 194R. If I'm getting any benefit because of it being a customer, that is not 194R. It may be that benefit might be 194B or might not be taxable at all, but that is not 194R. The person should get that benefit because of exercising that profession. And that benefit can be in cash, can be in kind. Does not matter. Okay? So deductor clear, deductee clear. Rate. Rate here is 10%. Threshold, matlab the benefit should be exceeding 20,000. Exceeding 20,000. Exceeding 20,000. So rate threshold clear. Now एक problem है, ये section applicable है 1st July 2022 से. Now you will ask, the benefit received after 1st July would be taken care of to take this 20,000 value, or the entire year benefit has to be taken care. What has to be done, ma'am, here in this case? That must be your question, right? So first of all, the benefit on which TDS would be deductible would be the one which is received after or on or after 1st July or after 30th June, I should say. But to see the limit of 20,000, the entire financial year ka value has to be taken in. That is before 1st July or 30th June, yeah, usse pehle, whatever benefit has been received, the entire value has to be seen to see whether I'm falling under 194R or not. If yes, then whatever has been given after 1st July, whatever benefit has been provided after 1st July, TDS would be deducted on that. Okay, next, yes, deductor. Any person is responsible for providing the benefit except individual and HF, जो 194A वाला हमने पढ़ा था, जो who does not have in turnover in case of business of more than 1 crore or gross receipts in case of profession more than 50 lakhs in the preceding year. वो वाले are excluded. ठीक है, next, तो कौन कौन से cover नहीं होंगे? Let's discuss that. Who all would not be covered out of here? Obviously, employer and employee would not be covered. Why? Because employer, if providing any perquisite to employee, would be deductible under 192. Then, if the recipient is a non-resident, obviously that person would not be covered because resident. Then, if the benefit does not have any connection with business I am running. So if I get free tickets from some X person, I'm not getting it because of the virtue of my business or my profession, then $194R would not be deductible, or 194R would not be attracted. Then if it is provided as a customer and not because of a business or profession, then also 194R would not be covered. Now, अभी मैंने आपको example दिया textile association and traders का. Now, a question comes कि मैम TDS कब काटेंगे? अब यहाँ पे कितनी सारी stages हो सकती हैं? First stages can be a trader qualifying for that incentive कि उसने इतना sales target achieve किया, right? Then secondly, once he has achieved it, textile association prepares the list of those who will get the benefit. Then textile association books a tour operator. Third stage for the tour. Fourth stage would be the tour operator gives tickets to the traders ki haan, these are your tickets, now you can go on a tour. And fifth stage would be when they're actually going on a tour. So at what stage TDS is deductible, that has to be seen. Now, honestly speaking, for me, when the tickets have been booked and handed over to the traders, that should be the situation. Before that, before this situation, the TDS should be deductible. The TDS should be deductible because उस यहाँ पे अभी इतना materialize नहीं हुआ आपका tax, because जब तक TDS जब तक tickets book नहीं हो जाती तब तक you don't know what is the value of the benefit, right? So I honestly feel the stage can be this, where the tour operator confirms the booking to the traders, right? So the stage can be again a questionable mark in the case of 194R. Now, second question you will ask about the value. Okay, ma'am, what value TDS has to be deducted? The first, yeah, okay. Ma'am, what should be the value while we're talking about the deduction of TDS? Now, the value should be the fair market value. Value should be the fair market value of the benefit or the perquisite which is provided. But it may be two exceptions. First exception is that if I am providing you the benefit and I have purchased that goods and passed it on to you. Purchased the hamper and passed it on to you, purchased the ticket and passed it on you. So then fair market value nahi aayega. Then whatever has been my purchase price, that would be the value on which the tax has to be deducted. Clear? General rule, fair market value. Exception one, if the person who is providing the benefit has purchased that particular good or service or tickets or incentive, then the purchase price. Second, if I am the manufacturer of good which I am giving you free of cost, then whatever price I charge from the customers, that would be the value for which 194R would be attracted. That would be the value for which 194R would be attracted. Clear? Sure. Now you would say कि मैम in kind में कैसे करना है, या in kind को, या cash and in kind when cash is not sufficient to recover the TDS, तो कैसे करना है? Same जैसे 194B में करते थे. You will release the benefit only if the tax has been deposited by the recipient. So how will he deposit? I told you, as advance tax. ठीक है? तो यहाँ तो suppose I have to give you 1 lakh of free goodies. So 1 lakh पे पहले तो either you come and show me कि this 10,000 का advance tax has been deposited. You have to deposit as an advance tax. आपके account में deposit होगा and you will give me that challan and I will use that challan when I have to file the TDS statement. I am the provider, you are the recipient. Okay, you are the influencer. So you will give me that 10,000 has been deposited. One case is this. Second case is I recovered 10,000 from you. Pehle, instead of you going deposit, I recover 10,000 from you and then I deposit as TDS. Second case which I can happen. Third case is I can gross it up. I can gross it up. I'll say the value with benefit which is of 1 lakh is actually not of 1 lakh. This is 1 lakh net of TDS. So full amount कितना हुआ? 1 lakh divided by 90 into 100. So that would be the value. And मैं खुद की pocket से gross up करके, as a person मुझे extra cost पड़ेगा. As a person मुझे expense ज़्यादा पड़ेगा. And I will deposit that. So either way it can happen. There is no such binding thing that the TDS has to be deposited as advance tax. But yes, before releasing the benefit, before providing the benefit or before the benefit is released, the person should ensure that the tax in relation to it either has been deposited by the person or I've recovered it from the person, or the grossing up will happen, or I will due it and adjust it with his payment if I have a sufficient further cash is going on. Whatever the way, this can happen. So fair market value clear, in kind wala part clear. Now there are a lot of clarification which came. I mean, some 20 FAQs were cleared by, because obviously ये section new section था, government के बहुत सारे stakeholders ने बहुत सारे questions पूछे which came as a clarification. So let's understand what were the clarifications one by one. First clarification which I personally think you can relate is on discount. I'll take you through the question also so that you can read it साथ साथ. We will do all that, don't worry. So the question was whether sales discount, cash discounts, rebates would be treated as opposite. देखो benefit तो है, benefit तो है, right? ऐसे तो नहीं कह सकते कि benefits नहीं है. Benefit तो आया, rebate आपको 100 का चीज थोड़ा सा सस्ता मिल गया, so benefit तो है. Whether अब trading discount हो रहा है, you purchase goods from me, I gave you 10% off, benefit तो हुआ. So whether this benefit would be treated as TDS deductible benefit, they said benefit है, we agree in it, but ऐसे discounts पे भी 194 are applicable होने लगा. If 194 gets applied on all such basic discounts, rebates, cash, trade, all of these discounts पे, if we started applying 194R, it would lead to genuine hardship for the provider. So to take out that hardship on sales discounts, cash discount, rebates पे, there would be no TDS of 194R. Okay. Similarly, buy one get one का scheme चल रहा है. Okay, buy one get one का scheme चल रहा है. आपने you went to purchase 10 bottles, you got 2 free. So as a dealer, you came, आपने में से 10 bottles लिया किसी चीज का, I gave you 2 free, 10 plus 2. So whether now that 2 bottles are perquisites, the answer is वैसे yes, they are benefit, but 194 again 194R would not be applicable. यहाँ पे बस क्या हुआ, instead of 10 bottles, जो आपको 10 bottles का price देना था, you have given me that price of 12 bottles. So as such, we will not apply 194R on that also. So if a trader gets 2 bottles extra because of him being a trader on purchase of a certain item, no problem. That is not a problem. So you will ask him, and then benefit कैसे हुआ? Benefits बहुत सारे situations में हो सकता है, like giving incentives in form of cash or in kind, such as car, TV, computers, giving iPhones. Again, this is a benefit. Sponsoring a trip. This is very common. Honestly, I'm telling you, on achieving targets, you achieve a target. ये employees में भी बहुत होता है. ये association and traders में भी बहुत होता है. You achieve a target, we will sponsor your trip for so and so place. Providing free tickets for event. This is a lot. This is happening a lot lately, I'm telling you. So all these influencers get a free ticket for the event so that they can provide the coverage for that particular event on the respective page. So free tickets. Giving medicine samples to medical practitioners. Free medicine samples. You go to any doctor, OPD or appointment clinic, some or the other person would have come from some or the other manufacturing company of the medicines, providing them free samples to promote their medicines. I'm not going into freebies and uska what would happen under the PGBP section, but the benefit is provided. So उसपे इन सब पे definitely TDS would be attracted. In सब पे definitely TDS would be attracted. Now एक medical practitioners का let me give an example. बहुत interesting clarification है, ध्यान से सुनो. I have a doctor, Dr. Rao, who is a permanent on-board employee of Hindu Hospital. Okay. Now, Glenmark company comes. Glenmark सुना है आपने? It's a company, medicine manufacturing company. Okay. Okay. So Glenmark comes and has an agreement with the hospital that we will give you 10 samples of our medicines, 10 free samples of our medicine to 5 doctors each of your hospitals. Okay, and that one sample is of 1,000 rupees, that into 10, 10,000, and that into 5, 50,000 का एक तरीके से benefit होगा. ठीक है, 10 samples to each doctor and 5 doctors को देंगे. ठीक है, ये हिंदू हॉस्पिटल्स का है. एंड अल्टीमेटली वो गया मिस्टर राव के पास. मिस्टर राव, Glenmark wala Hindu hospital said, okay, give one to Mr. Rao, one to Mr. Subhash, one to Mr. X, one to Mr. Y, and all that thing. So now the sample went to Mr. Rao. The question comes, who is here the recipient? And 194R Glenmark को काटना है, that is clear. But whether they will deduct for Mr. Rao or whether they will deduct for Hindu hospital. In this case, obviously, Glenmark is providing free samples to Hindu hospital. So 194R would be attracted on this scenario, and Hindu hospital then providing those free samples to Dr. Rao, who is ultimately enjoying that, would attract 192. Would attract 192. और वैल्यू क्या लेंगे? इस पे तो 50,000 लेंगे, बिकॉज यहाँ पे पर डॉक्टर वैल्यू नहीं लेंगे, यहाँ पे 50,000 हो जाएगा, यहाँ पे मिस्टर राव के केस में 10,000 हो जाएगा. दिस इज अ सिचुएशन व्हेन मिस्टर राव इज द employee of the hospital. Another situation comes when Mr. Rao is not the employee, but he's a consultant of the hospital. He comes on just visiting basis. Okay, he just comes on a visiting basis. Now what will happen? Now Glenmark has given free samples to Hindu hospital. Hindu hospitals then gives free samples to Mr. Rao. Now what will happen? Now in this case, what will happen? Either two situations can happen. Either Glenmark first deduct 194R में TDS for Hindu hospital, then Hindu hospital, while providing the same benefits to Mr. Rao, will deduct TDS under 194R. यहाँ पे भी R. Why? Because Mr. Rao here is getting those benefit in his professional capacity. यहाँ पे he was getting those benefit under as an employee capacity. So here again 194R would be applicable, or straight away Glenmark directly deduct TDS of Mr. Rao under 194R. Both the situations would be correct. Both the situations would be correct. And यहाँ पे एक clarification है, if any benefit is provided to government hospital, then the provider does not have to deduct the TDS. Then the provider does not have to deduct the TDS. यहाँ पे medical samples लिखा हुआ था, इसलिए immediately I took the example of medical samples. Okay, उसका भी clarification you will get. Then You know, any benefit or perquisite received as per the chargeability section because of business is charged under section 28 clause 4. ठीक है? But is it necessary कि वो 28(4) पे ही हो रहा है? What if वो 41(1) में उन्हें टैक्स कर रहे हैं तो? Obviously, अगर वो किसी और जगह लेके जा रहे हैं, it is not of because business and profession, but the benefit is received because of business and profession, then what will happen? It can happen, the person might tax that amount under section 41(1). It does not matter. For you, the person who's providing the benefit, he does not have to see कि वो 41(1) में tax कर रहे हैं या 28(4) में. Till the time it is as because of business or profession, you are responsible to deduct the TDS under 194R, and that too at the rate of 10%. That too at the rate of 10% is no, and it is not even your headache to see whether that amount is getting taxable or not. It is not your headache to see whether the amount is taxable or not. उनके हाथ में वो taxable हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा, वो उसको कैसे मर्जी टैक्स करे. It is totally their perspective. It is totally their perspective. ठीक है? यहां तक किसी को कोई डाउट? Koshki, is it clear now? And even if you're providing benefit in the form of capital asset, land, or any other benefit like a house as a capital asset, आपने जीता, so you get a house. It does not matter even if it is a capital asset for the recipient. You are providing the benefit. You are providing it because of the person's business and profession. Focus and deduct tax under 194R. ठीक है? So now we are left with social media influencers and reimbursement wala part. These two are thoda sa interesting. I would like to take it in the next class. Let me see what else is left with me. Yeah. So there are just 5-10 more clarifications which are left. 5 clarifications, not even 5, 4 or 5 particular cases which are there, which are left, which I would like to take in the next class, because abhi, if we start, it will go thoda sa lamba. But honestly, 194R in all perspective, though from the understanding, except those 4 guidelines, has been clear. So if I talk about the sections covered today, quickly. Yeah. We started with 194E, non-resident, 194I, 194IA, IB, 194IC, 194J, 194K, 194LA, 194M, then 194N, 194O, 194O, e-commerce operator clear है पक्का, किसी को कोई भी डाउट हो? We discussed all the CBT clarifications. 194P, उसमें please go through e-auctions. It is very simple. 194Q and 194R. So these are all the sections which we did today. इसमें से if I talk about the sections on which the TDS is attracted only on payment, it would be first my section 192, 192A, then 194, sorry, 194, 194DA, and 194BB, B and BB, correct? Then 194LA, compulsory acquisition, 194N, right? These are the 7 sections on which TDS is required to be deducted only at the time of payment. Then, in which cases individuals in HUF are excluded who do not have the preceding year turnover? 44A, 194A, 194C, 194H, 194I, 194J, and 194R. इसके अलावा everywhere a person individual HF वो जो आएंगे they have to deduct the TDS. ठीक है? Clear? So try to segregate the incommonalities into one and you will get to learn these sections. Abhi ke liye, I think we will drop it here and we will start immediately in the next class with this and one provisions, which is for your virtual assets if it is there. And then we will quickly do the TCS comparison. We will understand all of the provisions of TDS, filing of returns, late deductions, all of those interests will be covered in the next class. Okay? So I hope if you have any doubt, please let me know. Please drop in your feedback. And in case if you require any specific section to be covered again, I would be happy. Do remember the 5 things: deduction, who is the deductor, deductee, rate, threshold limit, time of deduction, and any specific points. ये case laws तो as in when you will understand the concept, you will automatically say, ma'am, ये तो case law यहाँ पे refer होगा. ये इस case law का section ये है. Okay? Any other doubt? Thank you so much. See you all in the next class on Wednesday. Thank you.